Okay, remember old Zoom meetings operations? We're all pretty used to this now. Mute your microphone if you're on Zoom in the audience, be recognized by the chair. Okay, public forum, 5 minutes per person. That's something that's not on the agenda that you'd like to bring up for possibly future discussion or just. Yes, Jimmy.
Suggestively, you guys got all these boards and commissions now, and there's so many members. I think it's time that you guys started having a little vetting process, maybe an application, just like an employment application, because ultimately, whatever they say or do, the town is responsible for. And just like to make sure that all your members and people that are joining are on the up and up. It's, for the town's liability. You just have so many, how you keep track of them, and there's no vetting at all.
There is. They attend meetings for the commission or the board that they want to be a part of, and then they come before us for an interview
Yeah,
process.
do you know their background?
How detailed do you want to be?
Yeah, I guess.
Just a suggestion, I was a civil liability officer in my department, and even back then, we had, it's just a suggestion, to keep you guys safe.
I do, just to brief you, I did like did you bring up something in your TA or somewhere about someone read it on the LTC or something this weekend about commissions are one thing and
The open meeting law,
the open meeting law.
right,
And
yeah, amendments to that, and that's on the agenda
that's
tonight.
on the agenda tonight. So maybe you can chime in on that time too. Okay, thank you, Jimmy. Any other people? Okay, Department head roundtable. Anybody? Bruce, I see you're on.
Thank you. We're staying busy. Nothing new.
That's a good.
Is that a good
I
thing?
know, that's what I was gonna say, it's a good.
It's all good.
The new officer beginning to now feel settled in a little or still
Oh, yeah.
working? Good.
Yeah, there's still a few things that we haven't encountered yet, but yeah, he's comfortable, doing well.
Good. Ready, okay. Thank you. Justin, while you're right here. Treasurer's report. Haven't
yeah.
had one of those in a while to the public.
That's exciting.
So I've been working with Kev and Brennan to reduce the amount of money the town is owed in back taxes. We will be having a tax sale on September 30th. And once that sale goes through, and if we sell all properties, we will be, there will be no tax bills over $900 still left. And so we'll be down a drastic amount of money if we recoup all that money. And it's the first tax sale in, I think, 3 years, is my understanding.
It's been a long time.
Um,
I would say more closer to 5.
So that's great. Still setting myself up in accounts that I didn't know existed and I don't need money again. Like to draw down our police grant that we got, I had to get into this program called ASAP. The emails registered to Anthony, and so we had to just all of that work is still ongoing. And I've been supporting the water department with their the meeting tonight.
Okay, alrighty. Anybody else on? I don't see anybody. Meredith and Brett? No?
Can do
Jill,
it quick.
You want a real quick one on the water?
Water rate's finally done, yay! Water bills will go out this week and they'll have an insert that'll give you the address to the consumer confidence report that'll be posted on the town's website. The water
Something
quality.
you sent to Valerie and I today.
Yeah, just to read through it, it's all the stuff that the state provides, it's just in a different format, that's a little bit less boring.
Okay. Krista, you wanna give maybe your last zoning one or?
I'm hoping so after tonight. Yeah, we're making strides. The couple things that are going on. Myself, AZ and Valerie met with the floodplain, state floodplain, folks this week, got some good information, got some clarity on process, which has been gray, as we know, on a few properties. All in all, I mean, I believe they felt that we were doing fairly well. The detail regulations are looking good as well. And then been working, transitioning my stuff over to AZ and been a good week, and we'll get more to that as we get into the next phase here.
Okay, all right.
We can do
Yep.
real quick for Eric. We took delivery of the broom for the loader. And I believe they started sweeping today.
I did see North Street now.
They intend to do, did they get with you to do what day they were gonna do Main Street? So they will be getting with Valerie to post on front porch for them the night that they're gonna do Main Street, so that the light will be on and the cars will be out of there for that. And they hope to finish up the crosswalks. I believe all they said they had left was right out here, and then do the stop bars, and all the painting will be done.
Yeah, that's good.
I just was wondering why. I noticed crosswalks are done and the stop bar is 3 feet away from it. If you got the cones out to block the traffic for this, go across the crosswalk, why don't we just do the stop bar? Why make another trip back to that same stop bar when you were standing there watching the paint dry in the crosswalk? I thought they could have done it at the same time.
I thought the same as well.
But anyway,
There may have been a reason.
you may have a reason. Okay, anybody else? Okay, regular business. Consider planning commission recommendation AZ Larson be appointed as Bristol zoning and planning administrator, and consider appointment of Chris Burley as deputy zoning planning administrator. May include deliberation in executive session.
Hopefully folks had a chance to review the memo that we received from the planning commission chair of their meeting with AZ. And they recommend that she be appointed as the full zoning and planning administrator. And they recommend that a 3-month and a 6-month review process be established, primarily to make sure that she's being set up to succeed, to make sure that, you know, she's if she needs any assistance.
Okay.
Although I would say that the having a review process is good, but I also want to say that we have regular interaction when AZ is here, so we don't need to wait for a review period to have that kind of check-in, so we would do it on a regular basis anyway. But having something on the books would be a good idea.
Now, that would be something that planning and DRB would do the 3 and 6 months, or who?
Let's see, 3 months and 6 months initially. Let's see.
We discussed
They
it
don't
both ways, whether or not it would just be with Valerie or with the DRB. With the planning commission, and yeah, they didn't seem hell bent either way, did they? I mean, it seemed like the planning commission would like to have one of the check-ins, just so that they can make sure that both are set up they're going down the right same path, and that it's again, the big reason for this is to ensure that success in the transition into the position.
And we just wouldn't want to be back April, May next year and go, oh, I thought you had already done it. Oh, thought we were gonna do it?
No, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
I do wish we could meet people before we hire them.
Well,
I know
AZ
AZ.
is on
Yeah, they're online
online.
tonight.
There, okay. Great.
Well, now we can put a face to a name.
Yeah.
AZ's muted.
And Michelle and I attended the planning commission meeting where the planning commission interviewed
Yeah.
AZ. So,
Okay.
Well, that's fine. I just,
Oh, yeah.
it just,
Yep,
you know,
absolutely.
when we have employees and walk
Yeah.
in the office and like, who are you?
Michelle, do you have any
Nice
comments?
to meet you.
Nice to meet you, AZ.
Nope, me,
You all set, Michelle? Okay. Okay,
Any
Any-
questions of
any
AZ?
questions for?
No, if they like Daisy.
I was at the planning commission meeting, so
I'd make a motion to appoint AZ Larson as the zoning and planning administrator.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any more questions for who, up interviewer or Valerie or Chris or AZ? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay,
And next with that agenda item is consideration of Chris as deputy.
I make a motion to appoint Chris Burley as deputy zoning and planning administrator.
Second.
okay, there's a motion and a second to appoint Chris as the deputy now. Any questions for that? Michelle, you have any questions?
no.
Is there a timeline for that?
Tomorrow.
You know, I mean, how long you want to be in that position?
I can do it
Or-
indefinitely.
okay.
I mean, we'll see how it goes. I mean, I would expect until either AZ feels completely confident in the
Yeah,
role, but
okay.
also just being here, I may not be doing much, but if AZ needs to go on vacation or is sick, having another person here in the office
Yeah.
is always a good thing.
Okay,
Because I never had that.
yeah,
really.
yeah, I wasn't sure if you had a, okay, that's great.
Indefinitely.
All right.
I would recommend, though, that AZ is in the process of establishing some regular office hours and a
Okay.
regular schedule. And I would recommend that the deputy also follow within that framework so that there's not this expectation that somebody's gonna be available all the time.
Okay.
That was the plan.
Right,
It's a
right,
certain, it's a
because-
certain amount of hours a week.
Right, because Chris has now many of other duties that will
Okay.
fill that time, so we
Okay.
want to make sure we use that window efficiently.
Okay,
We need to vote.
yeah, okay. I'd entertain a motion, or that's motion been made and seconded, that all those in favor of appointing Chris as deputy now, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstained? Okay,
Great,
Congratulations, AZ.
yep, welcome aboard.
okay. Appointment or reappointment of town officers or representatives. Brian Plant to the Bristol Equity Committee. Appointments to the Addison County Regional Planning Commission, Board and Transportation Advisory Committee, TAC. Okay, you saw Valerie's minutes, one step down from the Addison County Regional Planning and one said he'd take their place.
Yep,
Yeah.
and Brian Plant
Brian
is here
Plant is here.
to the Equity Committee.
Okay. Do you have any, want to speak a little bit on that, Brian? While you're thinking?
It all came about by accident. I met Ian, almost a month ago.
Yeah.
now. He was riding through on his bike and he stopped to ask me about the firehouse apartments that I recently moved into. Which happens more often than you would think. There's a lot of nosy people or just a lot of people. We get
Welcome to Bristol.
So we get to talking and then he revealed that he was on the select board and I also let out that I recently come out of homelessness. Thankfully all stars aligned and I got to move into the Bristol. And since then I've been given some opportunities. It's another unique position to be able to talk about my experiences, dealing with all these various state agencies and whatnot. Gone down to Montpelier a couple times, given testimony. I was also gave testimony on Mental Health Advocacy Day in January. Recently worked on a program. Some of you may have heard, the Affordable Connectivity Program that ran out of funding. Peter Welch is on his side is running to get funding for that program, as well as Becca Balance working on the House side. So I did a few interviews, worked with some of the local legislators, and actually was on Channel 5 News, Jack Thurston. And been given a couple opportunities. I was just appointed to the Vermont State Housing Authority Board of Commissioners, the Addison Housing Works Board of Directors, and just as of today, I was notified, pending a background check, will be on the CSAC Board of Directors. So this sounded like an opportunity to give the perspective of people that have been homeless, poverty, mental health, disability issues. But straight white guys, I don't normally look like diversity, but I can at least give perspectives from those areas.
That's great.
All right, thank you. Okay.
Can we just accept all of these together or do
That's what I was
we?
gonna ask.
Okay, yeah.
So that, yeah, you want to do that?
I move that we accept them. We accept the volunteers.
Second.
There's a motion, a second, to accept all three that Valerie's put on Brian, plus Valerie's from her TA report. Seeing no, any more comments? Hearing none.
Do you want to
Damo?
say the names just so that we have it? in
Sure.
the record?
Yeah.
Yep, so Ron Bendis and Peter Grant are willing to be reappointed as Addison County delegates. Peter Grant is willing to be reappointed to the Transportation Advisory Committee. And Peter Coffey and I are willing to be reappointed to the Regional Emergency Management Committee.
And Bill Sarah, you'd be an alternate.
Oh, Bill Starr would be an alternate, thank you.
To the planning. Okay,
I'm glad you're paying attention.
I
Somebody,
do read.
I know.
Okay, all those in favor of that, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstained? Okay.
Great. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you,
Thank
Brian.
you, Brian.
Appreciate it.
Considerably continued consideration of a quote from Sargent's Welding and Crane Service for installation of movable rails on the universal fishing platform at Eagle Park.
And it turns out Roy is able to zoom in with us.
Yeah, I see it. All right.
Hey, how's it
He and I-
going?
He and I have
Thanks,
not
Brian.
had a chance to connect, so I do not know what updated information might.
Ooh, this will be exciting.
Yeah, I know. There's suspense.
Sorry, I'm actually down in New Orleans at a stream restoration conference, so
Oh, wow.
calling in from down south. Yeah, so last time we spoke, couple questions. One was if we were to remove or to rotate all the railings out towards to have one parallel railing furthest out on the edge, can the platform hold that weight? And the answer is yes, we've confirmed that. So that is an option. We also just double checked the weight of the railings to just be sure we knew kind of what we're getting at. Because our original proposal, if you recall, was to just sleeve all the railings so they simply could be lifted in or out. You know, we had another thought, and just so you know, the sleeving, once the sleeves are in, there would be an anchor bolt on the inside of the platform, so you would never have to lean off the edge of the platform. And again, this would allow floodwaters, debris, and ice to pass over the platform without torquing it, which we believe played some role when that upstream boulder moved a couple inches from our survey, as well as we know there was some deflection on the railing. I mean, that's pretty obvious, you see it. Also, last time we spoke, we talked about, we had then with Randy Sargent come up with a thought, well, why don't we rotate all the railings or the two side railings perpendicular to flow to the inside, and then we'd have two horizontal railings. But you all brought up there's still a pretty good chance that a tree or ice could build up on the upstream because you'd have two, even though they're parallel to the flow, two railings. So we did, just kind of think about what would it take if we did want to remove the railings, and we had a thought we could simply cut the upstream and downstream railings and leave small gaps so they would mirror the parallel railing. If you remember, there's actually like small vertical gaps for people in a wheelchair or shorter or leaning for accessibility for fishing. So we could emulate those, and in that case we could, lighten the weight for someone to pick up that railing and move it, should you choose to go that route. So the railings, the longest railing that's in one piece is just under 300 pounds, and the other one's 200 pounds. So our thought was, if we can get them down to like 100 pounds, they're quite comfortable for two people to pick up and move, and then chain them to the post we had put in. But then we still have those liability concerns that we didn't kind of reach a resolution. But I think those really are going to be the options. So we could go back to Randy Sargent now and say, give us a proposal to swing all the railings out to towards the water, and we'd have one railing on the edge. Or we could ask him, and he already did give us a proposal to sleeve them all. That was around $6,000 or $7,000, I think. He actually gave us a proposal for both of those items, but we'd have to talk to him a little more about rotating the railings out to the outer edge, because then you'd have like the fixed point on the outer edge of the platform, as opposed to on the inside edge where you could mount a post just off the platform. And I think that was his idea. So, yeah, I don't know. I did reach out to Randy and didn't hear back. And I don't know, Valerie, if you tried to connect with him.
So if your plan is to make these light enough so we can pick them out, were you intending on taking off of that? Yeah, taking the front railing off as well?
You wouldn't have to, if you feel like it's another layer of safety. So in this, if we take off if we like cut the two side railings and take them off, and by cutting it, it sounds a little harsh. I mean, we would create a gap So they come off in two pieces and they go back on nicely, like they would mirror the front railing. And I can show a picture if it's easier. Should I share that with you all?
Right, when you say the front railing, that's the one that's running, it's closest to the stream bed, right?
It's
Yeah.
parallel.
Parallel, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The railing closest to the river flow out.
Right, the center of the river.
Yeah, the center of the river. Can you?
Yep, your
Okay, yep,
co-host
got
now.
it. All right, so here's the railings. We're looking from the new path out towards the river. So the railing I was just talking about is out here. And if you see, these are 4 pieces because there's gaps in here for accessible fishing to code. And one of our thoughts was we could actually put a gap in here or simply just cut these and have this tube sort of butt against this thing on the end. That'd be a very simple adjustment. And then these could get simply picked out. These both would be like a little under 100 pounds, and these would be right at 100 pounds. There'd be 3 pieces on the upstream side and 2 on the downstream side. And then and also it's a lot safer. The downstream side's very safe because there's rocks right there. And what we would try to do is have it so the locking bolt would be on the platform side, so no one would have to lean over.
I would
Again,
think you'd probably want the locking bolt to run parallel with the railing so that somebody can't get caught on it.
yeah. I mean, this is the only one, like, so this is the upstream side now looking downstream. Again, we're looking out from the path towards the river. Here's the railing in the small pieces that we would leave. And we could cut this railing like right here and then, finish off the ends and put a cap and, because these are super rigid. And then we can figure out a way. We might want to add another post in and just have it vertical. So this comes out in 2 pieces and there's a small gap there. But, Randy could give us some good, I'm pretty confident he could come up with a creative solution to get these into 2 pieces. And then here, we were wondering, is there a way to do the locking bolt on the platform side so someone doesn't have to lean off? And again, there are rocks here. It's not the most precarious. The only one that would be, if you leaned over, that'd be pretty precarious, is the outside edge. But again, going to the back, if we leave the outside edge and we take these off, we could lock these up the path to create another deterrent for people to get there, label them as closed, have a chain on the fence. So people would have to either climb the fence, hop 2 chains, hop a chain and a pile of gates to get onto this thing in winter. And so, again, going back to our thinking was, it seems like an ample deterrent, but I'm not a lawyer. I just, in terms of like, we just don't want people to freely walk out on this thing when it doesn't have railings. So I think those are kind of the options right now.
Roy, do you have a sense if Randy gets a green light, say early July, or maybe tonight, but he gets thinking about it and working on things in early July, the timeline to actually fabricate something and install it? And the reason I ask is because we're short on time.
Yeah.
So.
Well, one of the issues that added a lot of time, I don't think it's a very time intensive project, but we had asked him to quote galvanize, everything's galvanized out there. And he was going to create some posts and to swing these things on. And in that approach, he's adding a lot of material. And so we were going to ask him to galvanize everything, which he said he has to send that up to Albany to do that. So he's got to manufacture the parts, get it all set up and done, and then get them treated, get them back, and then install them. I think if we're just sleeving then and like changing the railing, I think it's a pretty quick job and he could do that. If we do want the sleeves galvanized, maybe there's a way he could do most of the job and then pull it off in winter and then, get the parts galvanized. And then we could, have have him build a job. And, I feel like he'll be able to get most of it done by the September deadline.
So it does leave July and August, so there's 2 months
Yeah.
to work, 2.5 months to work with.
Yeah, but to be sure, I mean, I have to check in with him to be sure, but when we originally spoke, I mean, I think he gets busy in the construction season, but he said he could sneak it in. And he said especially if we don't galvanize. Again, we were looking at a much more elaborate parts. If we're just sleeving it, maybe we don't need to galvanize it.
If it's just short sleeves, maybe you could do stainless.
Yeah,
That
that's
would-
true.
It'd probably be as cost effective as shipping everything to Albany.
Yeah, you're right. It actually might, if it's not a lot of material, because we were thinking a little more material and like some rotating thing. And he's like, we probably should treat it, but he did say stainless. But if you're right, if it's not a lot of material, then stainless might just be the quick way.
And the estimate was covered by FEMA, like it was within that amount.
Correct.
Okay.
So we've been batting this around enough. And let's not put our boots on and kick the can down the road any longer. Let's.
Make the sleeves, I'm gonna make a motion, we make the sleeves and cut the railing into 2 pieces.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Cut the, well, you heard it. Cut it in 2 pieces and sleeve it. Any more discussion on Peter's motion? All those
So
in
I
favor,
just,
Michelle?
can you just clarify, is that, if you cut the railing in 2, is that, you got a 200 pound one and a 100 pound one?
No, you would end up having on the side, in the picture we're looking at now, you'd have
Yeah.
2 less than 100 pounders. And that's pretty comfortable for 2 people to safely pick up. And then on the other side, you'd have 3 like 100 pounders roughly.
Okay.
And
Okay.
we haven't nailed the design exactly, but it will be something like analogous to what you see on the end on the far side out there where you have, I don't know if we'd want to put a small gap. We might just cut it and have a way for it to kind of recouple when you put them back in together so it's seamless for people. There's no reason, because there's no water in this spot, to have a fishing, a fishing slot, so to speak.
Roy, why wouldn't we make both sides the same? 3, so 2 and 1. One's got 2 spots, or this right where we're looking at by the memorial sign as gonna be 2 railings, and the other spot's gonna be 3 railings, the other upstream side. Why don't we just make 3 railings for both?
We could, these are actually a bit shorter. You can kind of, I don't think they're equal length.
Okay.
The posts, and they're lighter, so we thought it'd be more trips, but we could ask him if he wanted to do like 3 sections, and I wonder if he'll add maybe a second post. So you would just have a vertical post here, and then you'd have a middle section, and then maybe another section with a post. Like there's a couple ways you can do it that are just sort of like semantics and how you'd want to build this thing.
So
I'll let him figure it out.
yeah, but I see Eric's on there, so we send the crew up in the fall to take up, so this is in 3 sections that we're looking at on the picture. The first section on the left would stay, and the outer 2 would come off.
I think they'd all come off.
Okay, that's what I was asking it.
I guess
That
a
rail would
question.
come off, and
The upstream
the
whole rail,
upstream rail and the front one would stay on.
the 4 upstream, the 4 diagonal with the vertical with the
Yeah.
stream would stay on.
And
Yeah,
all
so
of
this
the,
one would come off. This is the upstream one. This one, here's the downstream one, full view would come off. And then the one in the background, did you all want to leave that, or do we want that sleevable too for all of
I'd
it?
like to see it sleevable.
Yeah, I mean,
myself.
if we're gonna do it, I'd just soon see it all come off. If they're around 100 pounds, it would make more sense to have
Yeah.
them all off of there, so there's no chance of anything getting got on it.
Yeah, these are, just so you know, these are much lighter. The outer ones are in smaller sections because of the gaps. There's 3 fishing gaps in the middle, so they're all individual.
I think we have it so they can all come off.
So the water goes right over the top of it.
Yeah. nothing for it to catch on.
So we have like 8 pieces now. Where are all those pieces going?
Didn't you say there's some posts?
Yeah, so we put in two concrete mounted steel posts and they have rings on them.
Yeah.
So our thinking was we would lay these all across the path. It would become a big deterrent for people to use that path to get down here. And they would get chained and locked to there are ring bolts on that to facilitate locking these to them.
They'd be laying flat?
No, they'd be standing vertical, leaning against the post.
Is it essentially, the 2 posts is it the entryway along that path? Is that what you're talking about?
It's about maybe
A little bit further.
a third to halfway down the path.
Yeah, so essentially it would become a very deep metal gate
Yeah,
on that path.
And
That's
that's
correct.
out of the high water mark too?
it is. It's above the high water. That's why we
Okay.
put it there.
Okay. Because you want to change it, so you want to leave it, just leave them all?
Yes.
Okay. We have, I guess you gotta have your directions right. We haven't voted on it yet, but to sleeve them all,
Okay.
not leave those 4 on the stream side.
And then
Go ahead, Ian.
one last, oh, I'm
Go
sorry,
on,
good.
That's okay, go ahead, Roy.
I was saying one last detail. Should I see if Randy can create the locking bolt mechanism on the inside for user safety, or is it okay to kind of reach out to this spot and bolt them in?
I would say if that sleeve comes up above that bottom rail,
Yeah,
that the bolt could be right there where your cursor is.
on the
On the-
inside or outside?
No, above the rail, so that you
Yeah.
can't get caught on it.
Inside of that.
A pin with a cable on it.
One side over.
Go to your other photo, Roy, from the
Other
other
photo.
side of that. Next one. You had another one on the other, there we go.
So. Right it'd be over the top of the rail. Not on that side, on the rail side, with the rail, just above the rail. There you go. If you could if you go to the next one, you can hit it right with your cursor, but,
So you're thinking
that's
like,
where I would,
like right
I
here?
would put them over the top of the rail. So that somebody can't get caught on them and they can still get to them from the inside. I'm guessing that sleeve is gonna come up far enough so that it'll be above that bottom rail.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the simple way that I see to do this the sleeve would end at the bottom cross rail and the whole thing would just drop down into that. And then you would never see the sleeves from the platform.
Oh, okay.
And
And in that case,
cylinder
you'd have to reach around the railing and like use a socket wrench and kind of, fasten the nut. So I guess I want to be sure that should I try to see if Randy can rig up a way to do it from the inside? Or does it matter if it's on the outside?
Couldn't you do like a pin? I have it on my trailer. It's a pin that slides through and it's got about a 6-inch cable with a cotter key through it. Or
Yeah,
a clip key.
I think they told me like, because these things are pretty heavy, like you don't want them wobbling at all. Like, I guess I don't know, honestly, like if the sleeve will fit tight enough or if it'll be a little loose until you really lock it in with like a bolt and like a ratchet.
I guess it depends on whether the sleeve is gonna go inside or outside. I was picturing the sleeve inside
Okay.
and then that,
Picturing it outside.
yeah, well, but then you'd have to have a way to you'd have to have something on it to stop it from going down.
Right.
Yeah, and also like it might get in the way of, I guess you wouldn't be able to have anything on the side of it because these bars would drop into it and they would be projecting up. So it would only have like 2 faces, but then it might be able to catch on the bottom of this railing actually. And then you'd be able to put a bolt right here. I'll bet you if you want me to, I mean, maybe I can ask Randy for like a mock-up of both ways and share it with you.
I would just prefer, personally, I'd prefer something that somebody's not gonna get hooked on if they're rolling in there in a wheelchair or running down. You don't want a bolt sticking out that somebody's
Okay.
gonna get hooked on.
So that
That's the
means
only
that-
reason for not having it on the inside.
Yeah,
But
So
I'm
not on
sure
the inside.
Randy can come up with something that'll work.
yeah.
I would leave it up to him to just design it so there's not something that somebody can get hooked on.
So you ideally you want it to look almost identical when he's done to what at the bottom, what we're seeing.
Yeah.
Okay. So then the bolt would be on the other side probably, which is probably the simplest way because the sleeve could end here and this whole thing would sit right on it. And you'd have a bolt right here to like lock it in.
Okay,
He can figure something out.
Yeah.
all right, we have a motion in a second. Did we get a
Yeah.
second? Yeah. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Fine.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
See? Okay. Let's have it. Water Commissioner, consider a water connection request by the Hefferman Family Trust for new water connections for 7 residential units off J Drive.
Thank you, Roy.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Roy.
Roy.
See y'all later.
We had this proposal in front of us, I think, early April, late March. And it's back, so, and I think I'll let you speak.
Yeah,
You wrote
the
it so
TA report captures the gist of what was discussed at the time, back in April. And at that time, the water department proposed a list of conditions based upon the complexities of the location and some of the other details of the proposal. And since that April review, we've come to the conclusion that a meter pit is not necessary and that this extension of the water distribution main will become an extension of the water district system. But one of the conditions, so this recommendation includes many, many conditions, including execution of an easement with various specifications that would ultimately make it essentially like a public right of way.
So this will tie in to the new details forthcoming in the
Correct.
new ordinance. or the
Correct.
updated
So
ordinance. Good.
lacking an updated
Yeah.
ordinance, we've incorporated
Okay.
what the ordinance would have said
Right.
or might say into this recommendation.
Right, which I think is good. I don't think there's any point
No,
in doing what we've previously done or doing some sort of
Right.
roughshod kind of thing, and then coming back to this a year later and saying, well, we've got this new ordinance and we have this other one we have to revisit to figure out. So that's great.
Right,
Excellent.
And in this particular case, the proposal includes a request for a temporary water line, which is something I don't know that we've ever done. But it's under that doesn't necessarily require water commission approval because it's coming off an existing curb stop.
Okay.
And if this overall proposal gets approved, it would be serving one of the new lots that is subject of this overall approval. And the temporary line includes a number of conditions that would need to be addressed.
What's the reason it's temporary versus a permanent?
It's above ground, overland. Yeah,
oh,
Because the house is there and
They want
they're not gonna get everything that needs to be done to certify this line. The line has to be in, has to be flushed, has to be sanitized, has to be pressure tested, has to pass.
It's 2 days of taking
Yeah.
that, so, yeah, so it's like.
So it may, depending on the availability of the contractor to do the wet tap,
Right.
that could be, I don't know what his time frame is.
So if it's temporary, then when does the final one happen? Is that like years down the line?
No, it's
or-
like,
for
as
winter.
soon as you can get somebody in to do it.
yeah, the temporary would only be allowed through
Till
September
September.
30th.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
As presumably all the other parts and pieces would be.
If everything fell right,
Yeah,
the temporary one may not go in.
I see. I see.
The easement though could be, I don't know how long it'll take to pull the easement together. I believe Kevin Brown is already, it's already in his pipeline to be doing, no pun intended, to be doing that. Because our thinking had been, well, maybe you can do a boilerplate template for these
Yeah.
similar kinds of things. And even though every single situation will have its own nuances and details that need to be considered, but hopefully with this will give us the start to a template.
And the property owner is handling all the cost for this, is that right? So unfortunately,
That is part of the condition.
they're having to do the temporary and then do the final, so it's extra cost for the property owner.
Well, no, because the curb stop is in and across the road.
Okay.
So it'll just be a matter of contacting a water operator to make connection to the curb stop, and it'll run over land to the.
To the
Everything will be, if I read it right, everything supposed to be in-house will be in-house, the permanent part of that.
Exactly, so it should make it, and I'll, maybe the other detail that doesn't seem as clear is that the 2 lots that are up on Plank Road, those don't have houses yet, it's this next one back here that does. So they're just gonna temporarily use a curb that's intended for 2 other lots. Hook that up for up to 3 months, these guys will be able to have water, the meter set will already be there. It's just, I contacted Matt at the state, because I was like, what are your conditions under the water supply rule? And he wants like a water test to just make sure it's clean, even though there's chlorine in it, just to make sure that they're not getting sick. He's had a couple contractors wherein he's gone to do an inspection back when he was the water operator, where they were using like dirty old materials, and so he's like, just make sure it's, I know you guys are gonna do right, but just make sure it's good and clean, and that it's flushed, and that it's chlorinated to a hyperchlorination level. It sits overnight, then it gets flushed, then we take water samples, everything comes back clean, and then they're good to go.
Yep, and condition number 8 suggests that the 2 services on Plank Road utilizing the 2 existing curbs must be verified to be in working order and not leaking before connections can be made. So this also intends for all the expenses of the water operator's time over and above what their ordinary contract would be covered through this and billed to the property owner, the applicant.
So previously, would maintaining the line also be paid for by the property owners? Are we taking on that liability?
Going forward, once the easement is executed and the system is inspected and accepted by the town, it becomes part of the town water system, just like any other road.
But so I guess what I'm seeing for the water projects that we're working on is we pay per whatever the unit of distance is for the pipes. So if we're going to then take all of these new projects into the town system, how much would that increase our future costs by?
That would have to be
Repair.
added to our asset management plan, and quite likely with these, if these are constructed appropriately, they'll last for a really long time.
It'll be
40, 50.
21, 24.
21,
100 years, at least 100
I
years.
know, but I don't want to pass things on to my children's children,
Well,
right? Like,
the ratepayers it would be part of our capital plan, and we will just, like any other maintenance and replacement, we'll just schedule it and make sure that we have enough funding in our capital funds, or if there's grant funds and other programs available at that time to do it, we'll certainly work.
and does this also then mean, somebody was asking us to take over the high school lines to the old high school?
And that's not on the table.
But I mean, that's what I'm saying is if we do this.
This
would
is just
we
going
then-
forward, every pre-existing situation, such as the high school,
Mhm.
such as Francis Place and other places, that they would be dealt with on a case-by-case basis.
Are you talking about the old high school, School Street?
Right, remember.
That we
Oh,
were
schools,
talking
yes.
about putting in
Right,
Right,
Oh.
because that would be a new one.
and that would be a new main.
Yeah.
That we would put in.
The town would put it.
Yeah.
We figured, we come to the conclusion that the town put that in as the Bristol High School, so it was a town high school, so they owned it.
But yes,
I didn't think we came to that conclusion.
I believe we did, Michelle.
At the time that the school was there, it was a town school, not a union school.
our working group, me, Jill and Kevin, there are some other opinions about that.
Right.
Of course.
Yes,
Well, I think you could think of it this way too, if you guys were to sell Howden Hall and it has a service line and that hall owns to the curb, if you sold Howden Hall to someone privately to be their new whatever, would you believe that the town owns the service line?
No,
I think what makes it tricky is that it's a distribution line.
right.
Yeah, and that's what makes
It's
me.
not a service line, it's a distribution line that went to the school.
Yeah, and what makes me feel like the reworking of the ordinance is in support of a really healthy water system is to make sure that all extensions.
We're getting,
Right.
we're getting a little off, but try to weave back. Okay, so Valerie mapped it out in about 4 pages. I believe probably Jill had a lot to do with this.
0.6
too.
font and.
I think it's the way to go. We said we've got one on Francis Drive that we don't own. I got an 8-inch main with a hydrant name. We don't own it. I don't think that's the way we want to go, the rest of it. So what do we want to do with this one? Is there motion and second? Can I entertain a motion?
One thing I do want to clarify on condition 10, that the water operator must be contacted at least 1 week in advance of the planned installation for each location. I highlighted that because in all other communications, it's 48 hours in
I'm
advance. I just-
mostly worried just about the tap, like the big 8 to 4. You guys are gonna have to get a hold of McDougal or
Yeah.
whomever else, and it's gonna take them 3 to 4 weeks to get the 8 to 4 sleeve to do the tap. That's the long wait right now. I know that because there's other ones that wanna do them and they're waiting. When you know, just let me know, and that would put like a huge red X to be available and not have anything else interfere.
So that's specifically related then to the condition above it, the T on the 8, so that's number 9, the T on the 8-inch water main on Plank Road must be performed by a licensed and insured contractor. If this is not a wet tap, it must be scheduled well in advance, as a shutdown of this segment of the water main will be needed.
It'll be a wet tap.
Yeah, which is awesome. That's what we want.
And so then the next one is that. Okay.
Sure.
So Val, I read through this, I just want to make sure I understand. So we're going with them putting in a main, so to speak, and then service lines off of that, and we will own the main. Is that right? Okay.
Correct, just like every other.
I thought that's what we were doing, and I just want to make sure I was reading that correctly.
So if we, for this, do you want 2 motions, one for a temporary line, or is that together with this
I
motion?
think together is
Okay,
adequate.
and the motion would be for, are we calling it a distribution line to J off-grade drive? Is that correct? As opposed
Plank
to,
Road.
oh, right, because it's, the residential units are gonna be off J drive. Okay, so that's what the motion would be, and I'm gonna make it in a minute. And it would be, are we saying for? I just wanna make sure,
70
I just want the motion to be clear that we're creating a distribution line. And then, or do I specify about the new connections to the individual houses that will be there, or is it
It's
enough to
actually-
just say,
It's actually a water line extension.
okay,
Is
so I
what
can
you're
say, that.
actually.
Is that
you're
what we're
allowing them
doing?
to build
Okay,
a
so I
water line
want the
extension
motion to
that
be
they're gonna
correct.
turn over to
Okay,
the town.
okay, so I'll make a motion to give approval for the Heffernan Family Trust for a water line extension off of Plank Road, including a temporary water supply hookup
Per the conditions.
per the conditions
Of item
highlighted.
4.5. No, excuse me, 4.4.
4.4.
4.4, sorry. Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, the only thing, Valerie, I'm reading here, and I see Eric's listening, I don't see anything in here where it says, because are they gonna?
The main's on the opposite side of the road.
Right, and they digging across the road or trenching it, or?
The main is under the pavement.
So I don't
Yeah.
see anything about putting the road back, pavement in here. It's all about water. I didn't see any of that in here. That's why I was
So you're.
kind of quiet
so
and I kept
let's
reading.
see.
I know they will put it back to,
They probably, do they need to work on the right of way permit that deals with the road
Yeah.
part?
I believe you
So
will.
we'll add.
That's
the-
what it adds. It says in here, you're gonna need a work in the right of way.
Oh,
permit.
okay,
I just filled one out today and I didn't know if it said where if it was pavement, it has to be put back as pavement.
well, that would be that would be part of the work in the right of way approval. As a
Okay.
condition of
Okay,
that,
then the road firm would
correct,
prove that with, you must be compacted and blah, blah, blah,
exactly.
and paved. Okay. All
So
right.
which one is that referenced?
In terms of work in the right of way.
14,
in the right.
extension of the water main outside the public, no, that's 14, that's outside the right of way.
Well, I'll make sure it's in there,
Okay,
if it's not.
So just to be clear, is this a change to our water policy, or we're just writing all these conditions out for this specific instance?
Both. This is a preview of what the upcoming changes to the water ordinance are likely to look like.
And do we have any sense about what the change in our liabilities will be? Like,
0.
so, but we would have to then maintain all of these, so if they so if they have a leak, it won't be the private homeowners who will dig it up and fix it, it would be.
In the extension, it won't be in their service lines. It will.
Right,
Mhm.
and so we're going to do 2 of these extensions tonight, but
No, one.
But
Well-
presumably, there's going to be more development as we adjust the zoning, right?
Right.
So we could conceivably see a number of these, and I just want to make sure that we feel that we know what those liabilities are before we vote. So if it's just a permit, that's pretty easy, right? We
Mhm.
want more housing, that's great. If it's a change in policy, do we know what the ripple effect of that will be? Or do we need to think about that? Or people feel very confident that it's low? I'm asking because I don't know. So that's why I'm
I
asking.
guess I'm getting where,
So
go ahead, Michelle.
I was gonna say, the liability to me is not gonna be any different than what it currently is. I mean, we have mains and distribution lines all throughout the town, so we have liability there. This is just not gonna be any different. It's just on a private
So there
road that we
is
have an
no-
easement to.
So there's no real policy change other than just getting the easement. Is that what the change is?
Well,
This is the
The
part I'm not
policy
clear.
change, yeah, the policy change has to do with what we're allowing them to extend, or how far we're allowing them to extend the distribution line. I mean, we didn't used to allow them to put it on private drives, and now we are with an easement for the town to maintain.
Okay, so there's no like there's no difference in the distance that we're extending it or anything like that that would change our liabilities. It's just the fact that we're letting them put it there with an easement. Is
Correct.
that right?
Right.
Yes.
An easement
Okay.
to the town.
Correct, because in the
Okay.
past, a development might have put it in and they would control it and own it,
Mhm,
and we didn't.
mhm.
And then what we discovered is that we're running up against these areas that we don't have control and that we don't have an easement to access that, even though maybe it became ours or maybe it's private and we have no control over it, but now someone else wants to connect to that. So the
Mhm.
idea is to try to clear all of this up, where any new construction, and like you said, there'll be more of this,
Mhm.
you know. It's very clear from the beginning, you know, you're paying to put this in. You're also giving us the right to go and take over the line once it's in. And that right includes permission to go onto your property and to
Okay.
do that.
But then any leaks or problems that come from the feeder lines into the houses
The
are
service
still
lines,
the.
correct,
Service
Okay.
lines are
yeah,
done by the homeowner. of that
Okay.
yeah,
service
it's just the main distribution, and all of that adds, as Jill said, it's making a healthy
No, I
system.
understand that
Right.
part of it,
Right.
and that part of it is great, except that it's not a close, you're still not completely solving the problem because you have all these other areas that you don't have control
Correct.
over. So you're getting a better system, not a
Right.
perfect system,
Which, yeah,
and
Right.
that's great, but you wanna know what the liabilities are too, right, before you
Right.
vote. So if the liabilities are low and the benefits are good, then I'm happy to vote. So I
Right.
just wanna
There-
make
there-
sure that I understand.
This
that.
direction gives us fewer liabilities because we have more, no,
More.
I feel like what it does is it keeps you from having distribution lines that are privately owned that may have large capital expenditures coming in 50 to 100 years, that these persons paying the same water rates on the same water system do not have the financial means to replace like an entire water system does. That's my worry for having all kinds of water line extensions that are private, that there's no way to fund their eventual demise. Where, 100 years from now, they might need to get replaced. 50 years from now, the valve might need to get replaced. They're kind of like the useful life of different mechanical components. So Firehouse Drive is kind of like your perfect water line extension, where it was done by the developer. It included a road, it included sidewalks, it included water.
It wasn't done by the developer.
Okay, maybe it was a joint venture.
No, we put the water line down over the hill to Woodland Apartments.
Ah,
Right, it's part of the
It was,
bond.
it was public-private
Yeah,
partnership with that particular project.
okay, because I know it took a turn, but then when it continues to go down to the end,
They paid for that, correct?
but it got turned over to the town. So it's like, I've seen it happen where it's actually a water main or a water line extension, whereas now it can be well cared for and added to the asset management plan. And then I've seen it be private water lines in a couple of different instances, old ones, and then actually newer ones. And it's just that,
Right, we never even questioned that extension on Firehouse Drive. We just did it.
I know. It's just application,
I mean, we didn't pay for it, but we just did it.
right? But it was,
But if
Yeah.
it needs.
And the
repair,
property
you
owner
pay
at
for
that
it.
time provided the easement for it.
mhm.
Stony Hill Properties at that time.
Gave us
provided the
easement to.
easement.
Well, we own the road.
Well,
And it's under
not
the
all
road.
the way
No, to all the
down
way
to
to Lover's
Lover's
Lane.
Lane.
Yes, to Lover's Lane, we
Right,
have an
right.
easement, correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we owned all the land when we went down over. We hadn't turned it over yet.
Might have.
We put the water line in before we sold the land.
Okay,
For your,
Okay.
Mute point.
your work in the right of way permit, it's number 18.
Okay. Thank you.
So you don't have to add it in.
Okay,
It's- it's
that's
there.
Oh, and also just on the point of liability, there is a 1-year warranty required.
Alrighty, there's a motion and second to request from Tepman Family Trust for a new water connection for 7 units out in J Drive. All those, any more questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
I'm gonna recuse
Abstain.
myself.
And one abstain, okay.
Michelle, was that a negative?
Nope, she said aye.
Oh.
Did you say aye, Michelle?
Yeah.
Yes,
It's just.
It's a delay.
Okay, another water commissioner, keep your hat on. Consider a water connection request by Peter Ryersback for a new residential water connection at 92 North Street.
is this the cottages place?
No, it's across
the road.
Oh, okay, thank
And
you.
Peter is online.
Peter's online.
It's the old Bryden property, correct?
Ledoux.
Well, we do-
Yeah.
Okay,
I could take you way back, but I won't. It was, yeah.
This is the old.
This is a
Yeah.
new lot then that's being developed.
It used to be Railton's. We used to grow the sweet corn in that field.
right,
I gosh.
I remember that.
So this is a subdivision that was previously approved in 2015. It's already got a curb cut approval and work in the right of way permit. And this application is for the new water connection,
So moved.
per the conditions outlined in the.
Correct.
Valerie, does it mention the work in the right of ways as well?
Oh, well, they've already got the permit.
The work in the right of way one?
Correct.
Fantastic, so if they know if pavement's disturbed, that's.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, there's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second, any more questions? Michelle, you got any questions on this one?
No,
No, okay, all those in
Nope.
favor, please say aye.
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 I,
Opposed? Staying? Okay,
There you go, Peter.
Thanks,
there you
Peter.
go, Peter.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'll get the written approval out by Wednesday.
Thank
Bristol
you.
Fire Department accept the resignation of firefighter Roy Cattell. Roy left us last month because his job is just, he had to give up something.
Make a motion to accept Roy's resignation with regret.
Second.
There's a motion to accept it. Roy's resignation. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, staying. Okay, Bristol Fire Department, we're gonna forget that for now, remove that to July. Bristol Fire Department, Fire Chief Brett LaRose and firefighter candidate Kobe LaRose. Chief, are you on?
Yeah.
There he is.
I'm on, but this was supposed to be later on in the agenda, so I'm not prepared.
Okay, we'll come back.
Thank you.
We're that far.
Yeah.
I like this, let's keep
Did
going.
you started early?
6 o'clock.
Oh, I guess you did.
Yeah, we did, sorry.
But I also noted that these 3 items related to the fire department would require some flexibility in terms of when they actually come on
Okay.
because of
Yeah.
your availability and Kobe's availability.
That's fine.
Chief, would you let us know when you're ready? That
Yeah.
way we can move back to it. I'm messaging him right now.
Great,
Okay.
okay, thanks, Brett.
Public hearing, continue the water and sewer district annual meeting, review and approval of operating. budget.
Do we think we'll be done? Yeah, never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, this might take a while. Brett, we may be a mile.
Or you could do
That's
the
why I
other
was gonna
one,
ask if
We
you
can
wanted
do-
to
the
jump.
open
We
meeting
can
law
jump.
stuff.
Great. Review the new open meeting law requirements. Put that in our TA report.
Yeah. This came along as a little bit of a surprise. I don't make a habit of following legislation. I rely on other people to tap me on the shoulder and let me know when I need to pay attention. So this one kind of snuck up. And it was approved by the legislature just in the end of May. And it takes effect July 1, so next week. And basically, it's various amendments to the open meeting law. And it defines, so in my TA report, I try to outline it as clearly as I can. There's no real clear source. But basically, advisory bodies and non-advisory bodies have additional requirements for posting recordings of each meeting. For advisory bodies, which are the Planning Commission, Energy Committee, and those folks, Conservation Commission, that are quasi judicial. Their meetings can be in person, remote, or hybrid. And a physical location is not required. For the non-advisory bodies, such as the Select Board and the Development Review Board.
No, other way around, right?
No, the Select Board and Development Review Board are non-advisory,
When,
which means the,
got it,
yeah,
sorry,
it
yes,
affects budget and
Thank you.
policies.
sorry about that.
Meetings have to be, the recordings have to be posted for a minimum of 30 days, which we already do. And I did not find, and it might be in there somewhere, whether Select Board meetings and DRE meetings are required to have a physical location. I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because even during COVID, we had to have a physical location.
There's one condition where we wouldn't have to, it's,
Except in emergencies,
right, there's that if it changes, or if a member of the public requests it.
right.
So we could decide to do completely remote, but if someone said, hey, I'd like to be there in person, we would need to accommodate that.
Right.
But I think seems like we will continue to offer hybrid as we've been doing.
The amendments put an emphasis on open meeting law violations.
Yep.
And informing members of the public how they can file a complaint and making sure that municipalities make this information available on their website. And another interesting thing is required annual training for Select Board chairs, whoever that might be, town managers, and mayors.
I think you might be included in that.
Did it skip administrator?
It
Yeah.
is.
I would say,
So an annual training, it's not exactly defined what that is expected to be. But it's going to the Secretary of State's office is tasked with setting that up and making it available in a number of different ways. So.
Don't
and that
worry,
doesn't-
Val, they'll fix that next year to include town administrators.
So that training part takes effect in January of 2025, which is just 6 months away.
Yeah.
And there are links in the report to some of the original stuff if you want to, and also the Vermont League of Cities and Towns website, if you want to look into it any further.
yeah. So I read through this. I don't think it affects us that much.
No.
We already do all of these things.
Right.
I put together a page of text that would be the submitting a violation, it's easy to put that as a page on our website with an email. And we've got the wording, I've got the wording I'll share with you folks.
I think the town of Morristown, I Googled it, and I think Morristown, I forget which one, already had, they have a
Yeah.
good example of how they did it.
Yep.
So,
And I have one too, so we can use
Yeah.
that, so that's pretty easy. In terms of requiring video, we have all the video, Neat does it, and we have it, the town has its own YouTube channel, and I post all the videos on that from every meeting. So I think we're fairly well covered. The only thing new to us really is the violation thing and then the training, which seems like the training is gonna be, you'll be able to do it remotely.
Right.
And it'll be fairly painless.
Now, I heard reference to ethics, but I did a word search on there and I didn't find ethics as part of it. So if it's there, I didn't quite find it. So that might be something else coming along.
Okay.
I believe that the ethics is a separate standalone bill.
Okay.
Yeah.
So stay tuned.
Okay.
See, Jimmy, this is where part you want to comment. But I hear what you're saying, that, you know, some of these committees we haven't heard from. But we reappoint them and we haven't heard from
Well,
them.
believe me, when I attend all the meetings,
You do.
and they'll tell you, I voice my opinion when they do something wrong, and they rectify it.
I find that hard to
Never
believe.
even thought about it.
I find it hard to believe you say something. Well, thank you for attending, Jerry. Okay, any other questions for Valerie on the open meeting law requirements? Okay. Review and approval of February 26th and May 28th meeting minutes.
So hopefully folks had a chance to glance at
I
those.
did. I was happy with them.
Do we have more? Looks like we have.
They're in various states. Yeah. The all ones except June 17th are posted on the website in their original draft form.
See,
Bye, Chris. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Chris.
Are these, if we approve these two, that means we've got 4 weeks. Are those the only ones left, everything?
I think I found one from April.
comes from April?
We also have we're a few years back.
I mean, if they're in 23 or
Right,
22.
and Carol's
that's where-
working on those.
Yes.
Okay,
I make a motion to approve minutes.
okay, is there a second? Michelle, did you look them over?
Yeah,
Michelle,
I sent
I'm
my
sorry.
I sent my changes to Val. They were minimal.
Okay, so you're a second?
Yep.
Okay, there's a motion, a second for the February 26th and May 28th meeting minutes of 24. All those in favor? Please say aye.
Aye.
Wow.
Opposed? Abstained,
Thank
okay.
you.
Number 12, accounts payable and pay warrants. What was it?
And you do have tobacco licenses.
Yeah, tobacco license.
Liquor licenses. That Sharon sent out.
Oh, I think one of them's over there for smoker.
Right.
There's one for smoking, one
You want that back?
Nope.
smoking
What
Lola's.
is the total of that warrant?
Yeah. $2,796,763.21. Doesn't seem quite enough.
A lot of money.
Mostly our salary, isn't it?
Huh?
Mostly our salary, isn't it?
Yeah,
Jill-
yeah.
Jill's new,
Well, it's mine and
Right.
then I'll.
we get a little.
Two
bit.
point
You
six
guys should.
52 million is your union high school, your district school.
Yeah, our one was only 100.
Yeah, so it's $2,796,763.21.
Can we split that up?
We just separate
Send it over in
payments.
4-week payments.
I said we shouldn't have signed it, but
Okay. Those are in the tobacco license, we have.
Do we have any
Smoking laws.
stipulations for that?
See,
that?
Do we have any stipulations for the smoking laws thing or not?
she writes out here, please make a motion to approve and conditions if needed,
Yeah.
add conditions if needed.
so who's it for?
What are they,
Can you
what are
look from
they,
our
But they're not
what's,
open very.
what's the license for? It's tobacco and alcohol?
First class restaurant and bar license application.
Just alcohol. No tobacco.
Yeah,
That would be weird. wouldn't it?
yeah, it's just because it's included in the agenda item to
Okay.
have all those.
Yeah.
So what is it?
Yeah, so I'm just trying to figure out what, like, are they gonna be selling like beer out of a cooler? Are they selling liquor over the counter? I mean, because they have a porch, so do you want it on the porch? Do you not want it on the porch?
They would need an outside consumption permit for the porch, is that right?
Yes.
Correct, and they're not, this is here, you know, they're not set up to have
Outside. right.
outside eating anyway, or
Right.
inside eating. They're not
Usually
set,
people
it should
sit
be-
outside though, like,
Yeah.
they sit out there just visiting.
Well, they have tables and chairs out there.
they do, but they're, yeah.
But it must be.
People are
it must
sitting
be
out there every
tomorrow.
day.
Yeah, but if
No, I
they
know.
don't, if they don't ask for an outside consumption permit, then that would come with stipulations.
I,
I think if I make a motion to approve it and let them know that this is does not include does not include outside consumption.
okay,
Second. Oh, sorry.
no, that's good. Do a second and then we can discuss.
Yeah,
Okay.
second,
Um,
okay, discussion, you.
So we don't know what this is for, if it's, because sometimes it's for an event, but I guess it's not an event, it's just a,
I'm assuming it says coolers in the back where they already sell
I guess so, but
sodas.
if, yeah, you,
Because where else would, they wouldn't, they
They
don't
used to
really.
be in back, but that was years ago.
no.
have
No, they
coolers in
are,
the
there
back
are
now,
coolers
too.
in the back, but yeah, you're buying to take away, or you drinking? I can't imagine they're drinking there, so
It must be to go.
I guess so. I might wanna, before I approve this, I might want more information if possible.
Although we could also just do what Peter suggested, which is just to say to them,
Yeah, I guess
this
it's,
is for sale.
yeah, if it's no outside, yeah.
And if
okay.
you want an outside, you have to come
Is a
back.
covered
They
porch
do.
considered outside?
Yes.
Yeah,
If they enclosed it, would it still be,
If they
screened it in, would that be considered enclosed?
they would have to have doors on
Yeah,
on
yeah.
stairs.
But they would have to get a permit for that too, so
Right.
we'll get them one way or
Well,
another.
I'm not saying getting it, you just-
Right.
yeah, being clear. what it is.
Right.
Being
Okay,
clear.
that's fine. It's-
Michelle asked about,
Yeah.
they're sitting out there.
Well, they
Have their-
can't without an outside consumption permit.
Yes,
Right, you can't have a beer out there, they go out there and have their lunch, buy
Right.
something in there and go out.
yes,
But Covers has one, they have, and Snaps has it, they have an outside permit.
Yeah,
For
and then
food.
it would have to be, it would have
Covers
to be.
doesn't have an outside one. They won't let you drink beer out on the.
No,
tables,
not beer, they have it out, they have the sidewalk,
yeah.
they
Mhm.
eat your pizza out there.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay,
If
do
they
you want a
want,
little more clear, Nate, clear?
no, I think so. If it's just inside, I think that's fine.
Okay. Okay, all those, any more discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstained? Okay. Let's get to select board roundtable, then we haven't seen Brett on yet. Peter, you want to talk a little bit about?
well,
number
I
seven?
did wanna touch base on the OSHA. I don't know if Brett wants to chime in or not. We discussed it at length at the executive board meeting with Vermont State firefighters yesterday, and firefighters are noted for taking stuff on themselves and not making it other people's problems, try to solve all their own problems. But these OSHA regulations are not the fire service's problem. These OSHA regulations are the municipality's problems, especially in the state of Vermont, where state statute says you will provide fire service for your fire coverage for your community. And the rules are, as they're written, are very strict and will significantly affect fire department budgets. They're talking biannual physicals, which come at a price tag of between $1,100 and $2,000, depending on the physical you get. Truck apparatus, 15-year life cycle. Tires, 7-year life cycle, so you gotta change your tires a year before you get rid of your truck. But we're running our trucks, I guess my point is, we're running our trucks 25 years now. And then we sell them to a less fortunate community wherever, whether it be out of state, well, typically out of state. But that market will no longer be there because this is a nationwide thing. And so your apparatus line, if we're going, our equipment line is gonna double. You have to be firefighter 1 and firefighter 2. So any, not a great big deal for our department because the
Yeah.
majority of our people are. I know I'm not, Joel's not. There's like half a dozen of us that aren't.
Right,
Chief officer has to have fire, officer 1, 2, and 3. Officer 3 isn't even offered in Vermont.
how do you do that then?
I don't know. And there's a number of other little things. I mean, I think that the comment period, I think ends, they extended it from June 20th to July 22nd. And I think that, it would behoove us to comment on the, OSHA is accepting comments and, they don't want to hear just, we can't afford
Yeah,
it. They
but
want to hear
the-
reasons
The
why.
difficulty of adapting
Yeah.
to regulations like this.
So perhaps when we hear Brett's presentation at the July meeting, if that date works for him, and when we see that presentation, then we can include time on the agenda to have the conversation about what our response would be.
When does the comment period end, do you know?
July 20, I believe it's July 22nd, it's been extended to. I know that we have, on Wednesday, I have a meeting with, Sanders, Welch,
Oh,
and,
good, that's what I was gonna say.
and Bryant at the Fire Academy.
Have you taken comments from the firefighters of Bristol in terms of thoughts from them? Or is
We haven't really.
Okay.
I know they discussed it. I wasn't able to meet the county meeting last week. They discussed it there. And I think, I hate to say it, but the only way we're gonna get OSHA's attention is if we scare the public and let them know what it's actually gonna cost. I mean, basically, it's gonna put fire departments out of business. Like I said, we're in halfway decent shape here. We already do a lot of the stuff.
Right,
But our ISO rating will change because if we lose our neighboring departments, we won't have the automatic mutual aid, which helps us keep our ISO rating down.
so if it's required by the state, how do you then lose?
Federal government. I believe this is OSHA.
No, but in terms of requiring, you said that at the top, the state requires to provide firefighter service.
Yes.
So how does that,
I know, if your community can't afford it, what do you do?
oh, I see, right. They're not gonna force you to have.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, would it mean that if Moncton or New Haven went out, they would contract with Bristol to cover them, but
right.
all their homeowners insurance is gonna go up because they're outside of that 5-mile circle
Yeah,
that you have to be for ISO.
Huge domino effect.
Yeah, and it's, there are departments whose budgets are under 10 grand and firefighters are paying for the fuel for the truck so they can respond. So I mean, it's not a problem unique to us.
Yeah.
But I think the issue is the firefighters are trying to solve it on their own. Whereas it's not necessarily their problem. It's the general public's problem because they're the ones that are gonna suffer.
Yeah.
So, I don't know when like I said, the NBFC, National Volunteer Fire Council has a template to go through to answer the questions that I can get a hold of.
So Brett, you're on, I see you're on and listening. Generally, do you wanna?
Was I way off track or am I close?
No, that's a really high level summary. I have a slide deck here, that I was gonna review with you all, and if you want me to fly through it and hit the highlights right now, I'm happy to do that. If you want to table it to your next meeting, I'm happy to do that too. I know that was the conversation I had earlier in the day with Joel, just in the interest of your all's time this evening. So I'll leave that up to you.
Let's table it, because I think then we can have a better discussion and also
This
sort
is
of figure out what kind
I
of
think
feedback.
this is the
you might
great,
wanna give.
this is a great presentation. Like I said, it's the one the National Volunteer Fire Council had put together and shared with fire departments. And again, it's bulleted, just this is the implications of it. Here are some of the estimated costs, what departments would have to do, those training requirements speakers spoke of. It's significant. And it's no other way to say it. It's significant. And as Peter noted too, it will literally put fire departments out of business.
I
That's
think
what it'll
though,
do.
so you'll be scheduled for July 8th, right at the top, I hope, or somewhere in there. And give it some good discussion, but I think we should be ready to, you working with Valerie and the board, not so much the board, you and Valerie work together to get a letter off to our 3 Congress and Senate, or Congress.
See, now, Congress has absolutely nothing to do with it, because OSHA is standalone. The only thing that Congress can do, and that's why we're meeting with them this week, is pull the purse strings.
Right.
Right.
Which is.
Right, that's it.
Yeah, well, that, yeah.
But I'm saying, have a letter somewhat drafted and ready to go, so we don't hear on our July 22nd meeting, well, it has to go out by 5 today and it didn't go, or it's, we're ready to, we can get ready to put it together. You know, because you, Peter said by July 22nd, it's gotta go out, or 25th or somewhere around there, you said.
22nd.
22nd. I think, get a letter started now and get it ready, so when we get your presentation, I hear all the points, and I agree 100%. This is gonna cost ungodly amount of money.
So that meeting with the congressional delegation is Wednesday at the Fire Academy at noon, Chief. You will be getting a invitation to that, because Mike Skaz is gonna send them to all the chiefs in the state.
Excellent.
Okay,
Yeah.
All
And
right.
Valerie, I'll just offer, if I would be happy to draft something, Valerie, to get that off of your plate and send it to you.
Thank you.
she brought a platter tonight. She got a big-
Yeah.
So, and just one additional point, I think it's worth noting, you know, not only if this was to pass, the implementation of them, but, you know, in a conversation, and I am not pushing an agenda here whatsoever, but this board would have to seriously consider paying someone to do this job.
Absolutely.
You know, whether it's in a part-time capacity or something, I mean, that's just something that would have to be considered, because the workload, it's not just a one-time thing, it's annually. You know, just the pre-planning alone.
You'd need a full-time administrator.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
throwing that out there.
Okay,
Thank you.
No, I was actually gonna bring that up, so I'm glad you mentioned it.
All right, and
So,
if I may, I know you guys are getting ready to wrap up. So obviously, because I wasn't paying attention to the time change, because I alluded to Kobe, it would probably be around 8, and whenever they were touching down. So I don't know
Well,
what
we
your
haven't
policy
even done-
says. I can either recommend, you know, if you want to have this conversation right now, I don't know if you're allowed to do that, but if you require him to be here, then we'll simply table it to your next meeting.
I don't think we
I don't think we
require.
require, no.
no, we don't
Yeah,
require,
if you wanna do it.
he's been through the interview process like everyone else, correct?
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, this process, this part of the process is that formality. You folks are the appointing authority for the town of Bristol, and it, you know, gives you that stand to make that appointment, you know, and I don't know if you want the person present or not.
Well, he's in California. Or
Seattle.
Or Oregon.
Oregon, sorry.
I mean,
I
you've
don't-
sent us the stuff, so, I mean, we've read whatever, you know, his application was. I mean, I have a couple questions for you, Brett.
Sure.
Or for him. I mean, I know, so I know he's a student, I know he's got another year. Is he home for the summer?
Yes.
Okay, because I thought it said he was working in Maine, and I was trying to figure out how he was gonna do this.
No, and I'm glad you brought it up, Michelle, and so this is a very similar situation to a firefighter we brought in a couple years ago, and Ethan DeWitt, who was enrolled in college at the time in New York. And, you know, obviously we don't know any of college students' futures. Firefighters in Bristol have a 2-year probation to meet their requirements. But as far as, you know, meeting minimum standards and such, as, you know, as Ethan demonstrated, and I'm sure this young man would as well, you know, if you're an active participant of the fire department, when you are home, whether it be your summer break or on your school vacations, those standards just happen by themselves. You don't have to try. You know, if you enjoy doing this, you go when you're available, the standards are just met. And obviously those would be addressed if they weren't. But again, they have 2 years to complete their firefighter 1 certification. And just speaking specifically about this person, this example, he is a relative of mine. I think most of you probably know that. He is my nephew. You know, he did express to me, because I asked him, I certainly have never even really had a conversation with him about the fire service. Kobe's his own person. And I just said, why now? And he said, because I'm in a place I can make the decision for me and I don't have any pressure to do it. So that was just something he shared with me. And I just thought that was kind of special, I guess. He's an intelligent young man.
He wasn't pressured by his father or his uncle to join.
No,
No.
no. So,
It's
but
like
again,
something-
ultimately, it's your all's decision. So
I said to Brett, if you got somebody who wants to join, get them now before. Well, I'll
Michelle,
make a
did you-
motion.
I thought Michelle had a couple questions.
No, that was it. I was just trying to,
Okay.
my question was he working in Maine and
No,
was he home for the summer? So, yeah, no.
he's actually working for the family business this summer.
Okay.
I make a motion to accept,
Good
Kobe
point.
Rose's application to the Bristol Fire Department.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any more questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstain? I'll abstain, being a relative. Okay, why don't we finish the select board roundtable? Figure you got anything
Thank you.
else? Thank you,
Thanks,
Brett.
Thanks, Brett.
Nope, I believe that'll do it for now.
Okay, Michelle, you got anything for select board roundtable? Then we'll go back.
No, I
up to
think I'm
public.
good. I'm good.
Okay, Jessica.
So the library has had a couple of hiring changes. So the children's librarian has resigned and they are hiring the assistant children's librarian. So we have somebody new is coming in, somebody else is leaving. We're doing an exit interview with the children's librarian, and then I'm assuming that they're going to be hiring.
Okay,
And then, I had 2 questions. I didn't know if the select board roundtable was the place to ask them.
Let's find out.
We'll find out.
Okay.
But they're not
Absolutely
personnel,
not.
they're not personnel, town personnel.
No.
Okay.
Nope, that was my only library update unless anyone has questions for me. I was wondering if we would be able to float some kind of an idea for creating a forum or a way for other select boards to meet together to talk about our issues. So I'm thinking of like, there's the Governors Association, there are all these associations where people holding a similar job get together, talk about what their issues are, what their solutions are, with the idea that a lot of times we're facing the same problems and we might get good ideas from other places or see other things that maybe we can help each other with. But it's hard if you don't have a regular way to do that. So then we rely on, when you run into people and talk to them. And so I didn't know if maybe, and I would be happy to, construct these materials or whatever, but maybe we could issue an invitation to meet and see if other select board members from surrounding towns would like to join us.
I mean, physically, like at a park or here?
Yeah, physically would be
Like
great.
have
but we
a
would do
pizza
it-
party or something
Yeah,
and
I
meet,
like-
just a meet and greet and,
Exactly.
cause I
It doesn't have to be
personally
informal.
don't know surrounding select board members.
Yeah, I know.
I know, yeah, a few,
Right.
but
Yeah.
that's.
But like, if you look at, as you saw in the newspaper, everybody's doing wastewater,
Yeah.
everybody's doing their water rates.
Yeah.
Like, we're all doing the same things and facing the same challenges, and it might be a really good way to talk to people and see what some good ideas are.
So you're just talking about the five towns around us? You're not talking
Well-
about select boards in Middlebury and Heinsberg and,
It would be up to us as far as, how we wanted to extend that invitation. I was thinking at first just the 5 towns around us, but, Virgins, Middlebury, they're also going through similar issues, so we could invite them, like, there are no rules here.
Yeah.
Harrisburg, Heinsberg.
Yeah, just be whatever people thought was of interest. I think Eric has a question.
Eric's waving his hand.
I thought I saw that.
Eric's on a select
Eric,
board.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's
Yeah.
a select board member, we all know.
What kind of pizza do you want, Eric?
Yeah, Eric, go ahead.
Unmute yourself.
Muted, you're muted,
You muted it.
Space bar.
your lips are moving, but we're not hearing you.
I think it's because he's on his
I know, it's
iPhone.
on the
It's hard
phone.
to,
It's
it's hard to.
Oh,
unmute.
that's right.
Still
Yeah.
muted.
You're still muted, Eric. text us there.
You could
You
also
can text me.
type in the comments if you can't unmute.
That might be a little bit much for.
Oh, that's right, he's on his iPhone, right?
That's fine.
It's hard to type.
You're
Never
still
mind.
muted. You said forget it.
Give me a thumbs up here.
I think it's a good idea. I think if we are the hosts, we would need to figure out what that might
Logistics.
look like, logistics and the format and how we would engage people and what we would talk about, things like that, obviously.
I mean, I know Valerie belongs to a. or used
Now
to
you're
belong-
unmuted, Eric.
There, I found it.
There you go. Okay, go ahead, Eric.
The only question I have is there a thing there where if you get more than 3 members of the same select board, that constitutes a meeting?
Right.
That is correct.
We just discussed the open meeting law.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's down, I mean, Jessica's got a good idea, but you just have to limit the per
warn it.
board meeting, you would have to limit the number of people per board
Or warn it.
warn it.
or
Yeah, we
warning,
would
yeah.
just post a warning, but the other thing is that, no action really could be
Right,
taken
just a discussion.
unless there are
Right.
specific agenda items.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I think if you're gonna do this, you would probably, like, if you're gonna do it monthly or quarterly, you just move the town so that the one town isn't always hosting it.
exactly. We would just start and then,
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I was going, you belong to a group, I know you've said you've been in Middlebury and Mel Holly was the city manager, you meet with the other groups
Right,
around.
right.
And now the outlying towns are getting administrators part-time, but some of them are part-time, some of them are full-time. But, you know, I know you somewhat have your pulse on that, of what's other
It's been a long
towns.
time
But
since
have
I've
you
been
guys
able
been
to
along
go.
since COVID, right?
Well, no,
Did it,
most
kind
of
of
the
fall off
meetings
at COVID?
lately have
well,
been.
blame it on COVID. We blame everybody.
So town managers and town administrators would get together for lunch once a month and it would rotate different towns, but for the last several months, it's been in the Rutland, Pulteney area, and it's just too far for me to go.
right, yeah, we wouldn't want it to be that far.
No,
It's
but I-
Addison County.
I think your idea without getting, so 7 boards have to have a public meeting
Right.
Mhm.
is maybe 2 board members from each board.
It would, you can gather.
You can
social,
gather, yes, I don't,
But you can't do any business.
Right.
but no, I mean, I know Middlebury, the chair and the vice chair meet with the college
Mhm.
president and that committee, I think, once a month and once every other month they meet. Then he brings back what they discussed. and,
Right, right.
You know, and.
Well, how about I'll create the text for an invitation and circulate it with everyone? And also make the list of all the select board members and their emails,
And
so
I
we
know
can just send it all out.
And I know Eric used to belong and Peter belonged to, and I know Eric does too now. Road foremans of Addison County get together and
That's
share
great.
equipment and share ideas and things. So it's
So
not,
do clerks and treasurers, we both have our own associations.
so it's not like it's not going.
Mhm.
Maybe it's not coming up to this level.
It sounds like we're the ones missing out.
I
Everyone
know.
else has their groups and,
I'm guessing the reason that is because of open meeting law,
Right.
is that if you send 3 select boards and you happen to discuss a matter that's
Right.
privy to the town.
That's why I said 2.
Right.
Go to each meeting, just 2.
just make it very light conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
So anything else?
Right.
You got anything else? for
And
Sean?
then the other question I had was just, we had talked about starting the budgeting process earlier so that we could invest a little bit more time with it. And I didn't know when that would be, or if we need to start thinking about that. But I
We
saw-
used to start October-ish, and
Right.
lately we haven't been starting until December, so. I would say
August.
late October. That gives us 2 extra months. October, November, because we haven't been starting until December,
Right.
right?
Or
Right.
November-ish. yeah.
Right. I don't know. I think it should start before that.
Oh, I agree.
Because then it won't be so painful, right? Because we can do
Well,
other
it will be
business, too.
painful because it'll come right down to the end and then we'll go back over it all.
Right,
Because stuff changes, but yes, I agree, our wants and wishes can be talked about earlier.
right,
And then we can flush those out and see how they fit in the budget. I
right.
think that, I totally agree with starting earlier.
Yes.
I just don't wanna be doing budget in July.
No,
Yeah.
Well, part of it too is, the earlier we start, the less information we have to
Yeah.
work with.
So, and the audit is being done at the end of July, is that right?
Well, it's just starting next week for.
Next, it was end
FY23.
of June, okay.
Yeah.
So
I
we're,
saw
you
that.
know, so
Actually,
we're
this week,
making, we're,
Thursday
yeah,
this week.
we're making a budget, 6 months ahead of time
Mhm.
already.
Right.
And then we're voting on it 3 months ahead of time. But like I said, the wants and wishes and how we're gonna, what our capital plan is, that we can talk about ahead of time. I think that would make a lot of sense.
In fact, we're gonna get started in August with this
Good.
capital plan that
Okay.
the select board will need to have a public hearing on, which means there has to be one. So-
Okay. So we can start the process in
Right.
August and go from there. Okay.
Based on
Yeah.
that.
And have those discussions. I think it would be useful, since we have a new treasurer, to bring them on board too, and sort of figure out ways that we can improve the budgeting system. We talked about that
Yes.
over the last few years, and I'd like to be able to have NEMRIC present to us the ability to see what NEMRIC can do in terms of the budgeting, because it's all the most
Well,
up-to-date data.
I think it's to our advantage to have somebody that I think is gonna be able to understand it. Because we haven't had that.
Right.
I mean, we've always said, I think.
I think you are going to find that the information that we're going to have through NEMRIC is going to be vastly improved. So many improvements, or at least improved awareness. of
Well, just
some of
understanding
what's
the system
behind
and
the
being able to
formulas.
get the information.
Right,
Right.
has been huge.
And that the
Absolutely.
categories will be correct and things won't be in the wrong categories. That would be
Well,
nice.
maybe.
Oh, yeah, garbage in, garbage out. So,
Anything else, Jessica?
Nope, that was it for
Ian?
me, sir.
I've been working on updating the way that the town receives payments. So we're looking at the moment, we just take online credit card payments for water and for the rec department. And so we're looking to expand that to have it be as many things as possible. So I've been working with Sharon, we're working with Justin, to sort of look at what that might look like. Do we use the same system that we're using now? Do we move to a new system? I've talked to other towns. I've looked around and researched what other towns are using. Had a couple calls in, and we'll be setting up a couple demos to be able to see what that looks like. The system that we use now, the credit card reader for in-person, doesn't accept all methods. It can do a slide and a chip, but it can't do tap or phone. I think it would be, if we're changing to this and we're trying to capture as much ease of use as possible with taking money from residents for various things, I think we need as many systems as possible. I mean, you're used to going to covers, being able to use your phone, like we should do that too. So it might mean moving to a new system. All of the systems that are offered seem like they behave in the same way. They're all free. It's based on the fee that's added on when you use a credit card.
So we add the fee.
Correct.
We
It's our choice, but
Right.
generally we would add a fee.
Municipalities can't afford to give 3% discount.
Exactly, yes. And so you make your choice.
So we're just doing.
And so the
$5,000
part of that fee,
Who's paying $150?
that's what pays the company that offers, so, which is good. It's not a yearly subscription thing. But mainly we'd be looking at doing property taxes. Obviously, we do water, sewer, the recreation department, vital records, different permits, dog licenses, donations, things like that.
That'd be great.
And in connection with that, not just credit cards, but we have a way in our NEMRIC system to be able to accept debiting using your bank account for property taxes. So I think that should be a service that we offer as well. So you could set that up. It would do either quarterly or yearly or whatever, however you want to set it up, payment for your property taxes that wouldn't include a fee. But I think people just don't
Because
know
it's a
that
bank
they are.
transfer.
Correct, yeah. And I think I would use that personally, and I think a lot of people probably would as well. You wouldn't have to worry about it, does it automatically. So I think at the same time that we sort of choose a direction.
Do you have to have money in the account for it to do it automatically?
I checked
for me.
I checked the day before. But I think once we set up and decide on a credit card direction, what it'll look like in person and online, then we could also announce the sort of the direct debiting as well through the NEMRIC system, and then offer both of those.
That's
So,
great.
yeah, that's what I've been working on.
Means more revenue. that we'll be able to
Correct.
collect.
You wanna-
I just don't understand where my authority ends and where yours begins, because I was already planning on doing the direct debiting immediately when we sent out the
Okay.
tax bills in July, because we have the capability. The
Good.
person's just did not know how to do it. I have been trained by Darlene how to enter it. And so like, do I have to get permission to take money from people?
No,
Like I'm
I said go for
confused,
it.
because like,
You asked me that many weeks ago. Or
I just don't truly, there's nothing that says this is where my authority as town treasurer stops. And where I need to say,
The most efficient way, you're in charge of the most, well, you're in charge of making sure the money gets where it belongs. And if you, the most efficient way you can figure out to do it, and the most cost-effective way for the town is your job, I would say. And this is just, it hasn't happened, so. I think
Right.
Ian-
no, I knew Ian was working on this. This is not a dig at Ian at all.
Yeah.
No, but
No, and it was recommended by Darlene and Nemrick,
Yeah.
to sort of like, when would you, if we offer this service, how would we do it? How would we let as many people know? And it makes sense to go out with the tax bill. So I think if it doesn't have to be connected with this.
Okay.
I'm just thinking it was just because of timing and things like that. If you're ready to go and we want to, well, but if we want to put it in as a separate thing,
Mhm.
I would recommend doing that. I think that's a good idea, especially timing it with the tax bills.
Yeah.
Let people know, and we'll see how many people sign up and come to you. It's an in-person thing, so people would come in and talk to Justin and set that up. But yeah, I would do that. It doesn't have to be connected to this. I just took this on just because it was just one of those
Yeah.
things that requires
It
a bunch
all
of research and
goes
it's time.
together.
Yeah, it goes together. But yeah, if it's set up and you're willing to do that, I think that's great. I think we should implement that sooner rather than later.
Yeah,
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Well, you moved right into what I wanted to talk about, because the bank asked me the other day, there's a girl at work that does this just for businesses, like tonight's, bill, nowadays our payables was 2.7 million. Now, or 2.6, how long have we had that money? They offer bank, and they offer a program where you're making money on your interest in your checkbook to you, and it's covered even though you write it out. And maybe I ought to have her talk with you and Justin, set up a meeting with her at work. Her and the loan officer said Bristol ought to look into this, because we have it at Hannaford Career does it. The college, we have some of the college accounts, we have their food service account at the bank and a few others, I don't know them all.
Yeah, if we had a couple $1 million sitting in the bank that wasn't making interest for a couple months, that's.
Right, so they would like to talk with you all about that, so. And then, the audit, where are we with the audit, and are we going to turn the screws up a little bit with RJ Smith and say, you know, when we have these water and sewer accounts, they've got money in it, we need to see that. I mean, Eric knows when he gets a printout next week of, well, how did he finish the year versus what he didn't finish, or in the rec department. But when we look at the water department, we're going, why do we always start out with a zero budget?
We know where we finished, we have failed to carry it forward.
Right.
That is on us, that's not on,
Well,
that's not on the accountant, but the accountant should have picked up that money belonged there.
Well, you may recall that the last couple of audits, I've expressed a lot of different frustrations for a lot of different things. And they're coming here for the first time on Thursday. It's a new team of people. And I intend to sit down with them, and I have a list of questions. And I want to bring to their attention some of the frustrations that I've had over the last couple of years. And see how they intend to approach them this time around, and maybe answer some of my questions and put my thoughts at ease about them. One of the things I've had many conversations with Jill about depreciation and how that's reflected in our audits and budgets and things like that. And I want to talk with them about that, but then also just how they present information in a way that's not useful to us. And just a lot of other things. So I want to lay down for them, at least my expectations, my desires for what we're going to get out of them and when. And I just have a feeling, so far I have an optimistic feeling that they're going to hit the ground running. I think we're in a better position with all the NEMRIC improvements to be able to give them improved information to work with.
Yeah, because I don't wanna hear from them if you bring up all these concerns, you say, well, that's how we do it, that's government financing or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's the way you can do it over in Stanford, but you're not doing it. We want to know what our water department
Yeah,
finishes up with
yeah.
budget and our sewer department.
Right.
And,
So when they come, they're working on 2023 and 2024.
No, just 23.
And have-
23.
22, 20.
Just, they've already done 20, they've already
21,
done FY
22.
21 and FY 22. Now they're working on FY 23.
So
they're
July
half years.
1st of 20.
2 to 23.
Correct.
To
Yes.
July 1st, to June 30th,
30th of
23.
So, boy, you guys hit all the things I had on here down. So when Jessica talked about starting the budget in October, I think that's a great idea, but if we've got the same garbage we've always had in there,
You will definitely not have the same card.
you know, I can't build a budget. We go, did you really spend that much? Did you
You're
really
already at a better starting point than
Good.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And Darlene, who's our NEMRIC accountant, who you authorized to help
Yep.
me. She hopefully by the first week in July will have our books from this year perfect to her standard, which I think is a pretty great standard. So that we will be starting July 1 with fresh books.
Okay.
It might be a pause until July 12th, but it will be much better than we've been.
And then on water issue, Jill, I talked with Middlebury's planning director today. I was in her office. Oh, yeah. She was the girl that did all the bump outs here. She worked for the state then. We did the traffic light. I said, yeah, the traffic light, the beacon I didn't want. They gave it to us, then they said, we're gonna buy it, and then we had to own it afterwards. But we were talking about, how do you get, because they're going through the water inventory too. You got Otter Creek doing it.
Yes.
And they've got 2,400 customers and
Yes.
meters. I go, we've got maybe 90, or so that won't knock on won't answer the door, won't let us in, and won't, how do we do it? She said there's a place on that form where 3 strikes, and
It's true.
so
We felt like
I
7.
said, Joe must know that.
It said I'm not a quitter, so like
Right,
we're at like strike 7
she
with
goes,
the last 100.
we're reaching out now, we're gonna have our water guys in their water uniforms knock on the door.
Yes.
Cause Otter Creek, they don't answer the door, they don't do all that. I
But
said,
it's
okay.
even with it being me and Brittany, and we've got the vests on, and we're knocking, and like, we see the car, we can see them in there, they still won't open the door, we're like, we're nice.
Maybe
Your water is going off.
maybe go out and take the cap off and put the iron wrench there and
I
go,
don't know if I
here, you gonna answer the door or not?
I don't know if yeah. And
So anyway,
there is, because some of the other water systems that are really small that I run, of those that were hired to do them, let's say it's 30 connections or 60, they made their 3 efforts and they got 3 results out of 60 and they said, I'll refuse, done. And I went, whoa, you didn't do any work. But it's because it meets the intent of the request.
yeah, she asked me how much money we got, and I go, that's zero.
For that particular thing?
No, for the punch, no, they got
Okay.
100,000.
Okay, I was gonna say, you got yours funded, the
Yeah.
SLI that.
Yeah, they
Pine
got
Street.
funded too.
Yeah.
So just, and then the last one was, did we set a time for the July 15th road trip? Was it 5 o'clock?
I'm sorry?
Was it 5
3.
o'clock?
3,
3 o'clock? Okay.
Yeah.
I just
3 or
gotta tell-
3:30, I don't it was either 3 or 3:30.
3.
3 o'clock, okay. And that's all I had. So we're gonna go back up now. Well, I'll let you come
No,
later.
I can wait.
Public hearing, continual water and sewer district annual meeting. Review and approval of operating budget and capital budget.
Joel.
Yeah, speaker, or Eric, sorry.
Yeah, one thing before I get off here, I heard you and Ian about the crosswalks.
Yeah,
I just got on just as you guys were talking about it. And the reason that we didn't do the stop bars in some of the places where the crosswalk was is because the paint sprayer was giving the 2 guys issues. And I wanted to make sure all the crosswalks got done in case the sprayer quit.
Oh.
I figured
Okay.
the crosswalks were more important than the stop bars, and we would get to the stop bars as soon as we got the sprayer fixed, if it did break down.
okay,
Okay.
Okay.
I figured there had to be a reason.
There had
and
to
that-
be, yeah.
But that was a good call.
I mean, I just saw them put the cones out and wait, and I'm going, they just spray that bar while they're waiting.
Yeah,
So,
I
okay.
know.
Anything
But
else, Eric?
I told him to do the crosswalk first before, in case it did quit.
Yeah.
Okay, You weren't on when we did the department head, but you're on now. Do you anything for the department heads besides that?
Other than what Peter said with the broom, no. Did have a few issues with it today out there sweeping. For some reason, it heated up the oil, enough so that it was throwing the alarms off on the machine. So I called, United, and they came down with a service truck, this afternoon to check it out, and I don't know the results.
Okay. And just from my information more, when is Pine Street gonna be ground? Is it right after middle of July?
First week of
Next summer.
August, first week of August,
Okay,
and
and it's gonna
then,
get paved sometime middle of September?
yeah, end of August, between the end of August and the end of September, it'll be paved.
Okay. Okay, alrighty. Okay, thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
All right, if you're all set with me, then I'm gonna jump off.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay,
All right, have a good day, guys.
thanks, Eric. Enjoy your rest of your vacation.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. The discussion of alternative water rate structure and updated water fee policy and other updates or issues. Okay.
Yeah, so, let's see, okay, we go. I'm gonna make Justin a co-host. The proposed budgets, I'll start with that first, have not changed significantly. Let's see, where did I- There we go. So this is the same water budget that we had looked at the previous meeting. We're still working through trying to clarify some of the actual numbers. But the actuals are not necessarily consequential to what we come up with for the FY25 budget. We have enough to know, and apparently this line for personnel labor doesn't exist, so we can eliminate that. So if folks agree.
So that's not prepping of the bills and stuff.
No,
In the
that's
office.
where the clerical and all the other stuff goes.
Okay.
So, if folks are okay with it, I would recommend
Well, it
zero.
doesn't look like we've spent anything out of that line in the last,
Exactly.
have we any further back?
2019 was the last time it was spent.
Do we know
2019?
what it was spent for?
It looked like in 2020 that they combine personnel and clerical admin into one line. I don't know what the separation was prior to. It just says personnel, assistant water department, so.
But you didn't look at 18 or so and say, what it said, a check to somebody for,
No, it all.
shoveling the hydrants out.
No, it was all, I did, everything historically in that account is from payroll. And so I know that my salary, Valerie's salary, and Sharon's salary, partial pieces are taken from water, from sewer, from highway. My assumption, because that's all it says is from payroll, is that at some point, perhaps Valerie or the treasurer's salary came out of personnel, but it was always around like $1,800. But it has not been spent in years, and it doesn't actually exist in last year's budget. There's no line in NEMRIC for personnel labor.
Good.
Can we just delete line 16 then?
Yeah, I proposed to delete that. Guess we can just go ahead and do that.
Let's do that.
She deleted the number, she didn't delete the line.
There you go.
One less. And I'm not sure if we want to circle back on this after
Yeah. I think we should do the
Justin
rates.
talks about rates and some of the scenarios.
Did health insurance go up 73%?
Yes. And that's because some people that were not on health insurance got onto the family plan. And so that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
We're only paying for Justin, you and Sharon's for health insurance, correct? 1% of each, okay,
So, I
No,
think
it's no one's fault, it's just
right.
increasing healthcare costs drive all these
Well,
budgets.
the healthcare cost didn't go up 73%, on the addition of it.
Right,
The
but it also
portion
did
that
go
the
up.
town
Right.
is
Yeah.
requesting from the water department. So,
Mhm. Did you wanna go on with your,
yeah, I don't want to share screen with them because as a teacher, I know that the moment you share a document, everybody stops listening and goes to the document.
Here, come up here.
The first thing I want to show you is that this is currently the water formula for the town of Bristol,
That whole page?
this entire page.
Well, that's simple.
I had to sit down with Chip from Nemrick, who is their software engineer. And you can look at the date that this was last updated.
I can
May
share that
14,
screen if you want.
96.
Yeah.
And it looks like a
Yeah,
dot
sure,
matrix
it's-
printer.
Well, that's Nemrick. That is what Nemrick reports.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's how we have to enter. It's a little
Wow.
crazy. So I can assure you that what we have as our water ordinance is not how bills are being calculated in any way, shape, or form. And so that's just,
Wait, so in terms of what we say in the ordinance, and in terms of the calculations that we're doing, they're two different things.
polar opposites.
Okay.
We are, according to our ordinance,
So I'm sharing that.
Okay,
that's the formula.
Yeah.
Real.
so that's the formula we currently use.
Right,
to
which is
calculate
not based
costs.
on
From
our,
1996.
Yeah. Okay,
it's,
Oh, because.
so
of
this was
Allison.
developed by Therese Kirby and the water engineer from whatever year it was created, it's on there somewhere.
96.
yeah.
1990, right? 1990 at the very top.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I see.
Gotcha.
Oh, New England Municipal Resource Center, is that who that
That's
was?
number.
Yeah.
That's never,
Oh, I see, so they created it.
Yeah,
but
so
with
at
the,
some point in 96, but it was before
Okay.
96 that this came into existence. They thought they had done it right. Chip and I both agree that this is not what the water ordinance says. We have collected more money with this formula than what we should have been collecting according to the water ordinance.
I thought it was the other way around.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
So right now,
I'll stop sharing.
historically, can you?
No, this
Oh, wait,
makes
I can
sense.
share. I forgot that.
I'm on.
I don't need to look
Okay.
at it. This is-
It's basically a series of like 9 conditions.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like what you would enter in Excel, right, to give
Yeah,
you
to
that
write a
number.
very complex formula.
So-
Yeah.
Right now, if 23 is such a, our books were such a mess, Darlene is cleaning them up, but I looked at 22. And so the actuals from 22, if we were following what the water ordinance was at that time,
Mhm.
we should have only collected 194,200, sorry, right here.
Right, and so then the difference is 42.
Right, so what we actually collected, no, that's what we should have actually collected, was
Uh-huh.
151.
Right,
We collected 200 and something thousand.
right,
Where does that show?
It doesn't, I didn't put those numbers
But you
on there,
can
I
see
just
the
put what it should have been versus
Okay.
what it was.
is that what we should have collected by what we read with a meter, go from touchpad to touchpad, and actual gallons used?
Nope, this is money. So this is, this rate right here,
That doesn't cover our expenses for that year.
That's,
no, this is revenue, this has nothing to do with expenses yet.
But if it's a,
Oh, that's
What?
2022.
Right,
but if it's a fund, you can't. We set our rates based on what our expenses, our budget is for expenses.
right,
what he's telling you is that the formula is wrong.
Right.
We overcharged by way of a formula.
correct.
right,
You met your budget numbers
Right.
based
you
on.
did it your way, not that way.
Right, basically what we did and what we've been doing is we've been taking total budget, dividing it by the number of water users, dividing it by 4.
Exactly.
That is not what our water ordinance
Regardless of
says
what the
in
base and
any way,
usage
shape, or
fees
form.
are.
So how is somebody like nowadays budget versus my house different? They use a lot more gallons than I use.
Right, so they've been.
So
paying
gotta
for
be
that.
gallons, has gotta be figured in there.
This is our gallon right here. See the number that I have highlighted?
Can you hit the plus sign or do like this number on like the bottom? Can you slide it bigger?
So that number, we used 348,060 gallons, if you do the math out. So that was in 2022.
Although when I look at the actual from 2022, FY 22, in our previous budget, it says actual revenue of over 341,000.
Right.
Okay,
So that is not,
so why would it say actually collected that way?
because this is what we should have actually collected.
Right. The
Based on
one-
the water ordinance that I was asked to
Oh.
look at and do the math
Oh.
on, this is what, according to the water ordinance, and how many gallons we used in 2022.
So we use 340,000,
348,000 gallons of water in 2022.
we touchpad.
That's how many
Mhm.
gallons we billed people for.
Is that 34,806?
Out
Is
of
that-
Times
is-
10,000.
Times 10,000.
Or times,
So that's actually 34,806,000.
we didn't make 34 million. It's times
I don't
5,000.
think we really
Oh,
did make
times
34.
1,000.
We might have made it, but did we
No, I
bill?
think we made 90 million. I think we billed 34. Because we bill out about a third of what we produce.
Okay, so
So
still,
I think it's 34,806,000, because we bill in thousands. So
Okay.
I think it's 34,806,000, not
Okay.
10,000.
So one of those
So
zeros.
I think
needs to go
I
away.
think it would actually be 34,806,000.
okay,
I got 348,060 gallons.
That
60 gallons.
34,806,000 makes sense to about 700 connected users using less than 100 gallons a day. Because that would be 70 million. If everybody used 100,000 gallon, or 1,000, if every connected user used 100 gallons a day, you would be, yeah. way-
I was thinking 34,000 was a low number.
Yeah.
It's comma 000, because it reads in thousands.
So it's
But it
34.
bills, yeah.
it doesn't really change this though.
Mm-mm.
So I can make that change. According to our, let me make sure that formula's right now though.
Did we pump about 953,000 gallons a day?
No, we pump about 240 in the summer and
You
about
take 34
360.
million, 248,000. Comes out to 900.
So 365 days a year, so we should like 34,000.
That would be 194.
No, one less zero. It reads in thousands, not 10,000s. Times.
Well, do you wanna keep going on with your,
Sure,
Okay, divided by 365.
and then we can come back and refine things.
sure. So,
Divided by 365.
just wait for all my classmates to pay back attention.
So we're pumping more like 250,000 a day and we're selling about 95.
So it's 700 users, 650.
Well, that's part of this.
Connections versus users are
Right.
different figures technically.
146 gallons a day. That's
Okay.
Just keep going, Justin.
Sorry, Justin.
So, based on that, I took the total budget that Jill needed, which was 376, I believe, is what was given to me, somewhere around that there.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, Chris and I went through. Currently on our books, we have 638 users.
Mhm.
Based on the statute that was provided in 23 by the Vermont Secretary of State or whoever decides those statutes, we should have 952 residential users, 16 commercial, and that does, or EUs. So dwelling units if you're talking residential, water usage if you're talking commercial. 16 for restaurants in town and 96 for businesses that are non-restaurants. That takes our EU total.
952 is, my house is one and
Well,
12 unit apartment house is one.
Right
That's
now,
correct. That's why we're off close to 300.
so Chris and I went through first just by our collective knowledge, and then we literally went into the lister's office and wrote down every single house in the dwelling units. So this is as accurate as we're gonna get it right now. We know there are people out there that have extra dwelling units that are not permitted, and we're working through those on a case-by-case basis. So it's only gonna go up, it's not gonna go back down. Now, you can see down here, a typical water user with 0 overage. Now, this is about as rough estimate as it comes, because what this formula is actually doing is taking the 4 prior uses, averaging them out, and then telling the customer you used roughly that much.
Right.
So this is saying, if I'm a water user currently in Bristol and I don't go anything over, my bill is right around $80 a month and some change. If we go to a flat rate, which is what most towns around us have gone to, with some form of step increases for people that have multi-dwellings and things like that, this would be the difference in their tax bills. Sorry, I can zoom back in.
Water bills.
In their water bills, sorry, gosh. So currently they're paying $322.60. If we went into a flat rate that every dwelling unit is worth $85, this would, what that would become.
Plus so much over a minimum amount of gallons.
This is nobody that, you're not using anything more than what we've allotted to you by our system.
Right.
Cause if you use more, it's gonna cost you more.
So now,
Right.
this is, and these are real people scenarios. These are residents of Bristol that, these are their current tax bills. or
And these are
water bills.
these are just residences, not including commercial at this point?
Not yet. These are just residents.
Right.
So now, if I'm an atypical water user, and so I tried to take one of our single family dwellings that uses a lot of water, these are what they're, now mind you, the $10 per 1,000 gallons is currently $5.31 per 1,000 gallons. So that is a new number. So historically, this is what their bills have been. So $91, this is a real house. They're now going down to 85, 85, 85, 85, 91, but then they're paying their overages. Their bill goes from $365 a year to $440 a year. I talked with a lot of town treasurers. Part of the reason that the overage, you don't want people going over, because as we are nearing, like Jill could talk more to this, we're nearing our capacity. I think we're at 70-something% currently. Yeah. And so when we get to 80, the state starts saying, whoa, 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 whoa.
Right.
And so
We mean capacity as in, we don't have that much water to supply, or we have,
It's because our permit allows us something like 564,000 gallons a day, or 408,000 gallons a day. If we take our running 12-month average, because we have such high leaks and because we have a blow off, we're producing nearly 360,000 gallons. You know, like I've got it all in a spreadsheet. Let me just pull it up.
It's based on what we produce, not on what we sell.
I would love for
Right.
them to be way. super
right, that's where I'm
close.
getting at.
Way super, it's production, not, and because we report production, we're required to, and we have to pay on production. So the state,
Right, you
that's why
saw
that, that's why that line
Right.
item went up, so that's why like continuing to address leaks that we know about, to replace old water lines, to make, enforce the replacement of known leaking service lines, is just like, we gotta like close the gap on that. 2/3 of the water we're producing, we are not able to measure and sell,
What's
and
the,
it's using up capacity.
Are you gonna ask the question I have too?
I know, I was gonna say, what's the gallon rating per user in your new scenario?
same as what it currently is, 100 gallons per day.
Per day, so
That
it
did
looks
not
like the
change.
number of days since the last read, and right now the read is how many you can loop in a day. So it might be that you were able to get 200 done that day, and then the next day you're able to get 150 done, so it looks at what was the date that it was read the last quarter, what is the date that it was read, it does the mathematics in the formula, it was 82 days, it was 89 days, it was 92 days, we try to do it like around the 12th, every month for sewer, like on or around the 12th, and then for water, just around the 10th, and we finish as fast as we possibly can, given rainstorms and biting dogs.
And this would also, if one reason for a flat rate is we get people that move to town all the time and ask, what is a typical water bill for your village? We cannot answer that because of how convoluted that is. So this would allow us to say, historically, if you use,
I don't like the word flat rate. What's our base rate?
no, it would be a flat rate for everybody. So this is what Virgin's does. They say, if you live in a home and you have a dwelling unit in your home, which every home has one dwelling unit at least, you pay $75 a year.
Right, but if you have an elaborate sprinkler system and you turn it on.
But
all
that's
summer
getting
long,
covered into the overage rates.
Oh.
If they go over.
Then that's not, to me, that's not a flat rate.
Well, it's a flat rate plus overage rates.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think I understand what you're saying, they mean the same thing, a base rate.
Sure.
Sure.
So with the
Jill,
new,
we can show that
I'm gonna show
after.
yours in a minute.
so with the new ERUs though, we're still not hitting the revenue that Jill says she needs, right?
No, we're 385, 160.
Right.
That's more than she asked for this year.
Oh, it is more than, I
Yeah.
wasn't sure. Oh, did she ask for the 376?
No, that's just a math calculation
okay.
that's doing it up there for me.
I believe there's another piece that we should probably also discuss, which is that if indeed there is some money to be invested, there should be an interest.
Oh, 100%. That's not
There should
including
be
any loan.
interest revenue put in at the top of the,
But would that go in the operating budget or the capital fund?
I don't know, I'm
recommend the
kind of
capital
asking, would
fund.
it offset the $34,000 loan payment, or would it be completely separate and not within the budget?
Wherever that loan payment is, where the interest should go. If the loan payment's coming out of the operating budget, we want to put the loan payment back into the operating budget, or the interest, I mean.
Okay.
If it's coming out of the capital fund, then we should put the interest in the capital fund. And that just makes the most sense.
So
and it's
we're,
clean as they
so
come.
we should probably take the loan payment out of the capital fund because it is a capital.
Well, at the
Either
moment,
that or we
it's-
keep it separate.
at the moment, it's a line item in the operating budget,
So we keep it separate. So then the interest is gonna go back into the capital.
And it basically will just drain $10,000 a year from the capital, but you're making capital
Right.
improvement expenditures. You're basically putting money into capital every year, so it would make your water budget less ouchy. But
And then this base, that's the commercial.
These are for a typical eatery or restaurant. And this is based on an actual user that we have in town. It's based on a restaurant with 6 EUs. So the way that the statute that came out in 2023 read was a lot of preloaded stuff. So if a new restaurant comes into town, per seat, you charge 50 gallons of water.
Okay.
Our restaurants were not set up this way. We cannot possibly raise their rates and do that to them in 1 year. It will literally bankrupt Main Street,
Mhm.
especially the restaurants. So what I did was I took this is just one example. I did it for every one of them. I took local eateries and what they currently use and said, okay, what do we need their base rate to be to make their roughly the same or a little bit more
Okay.
than they were paying for year one. And I think with their bills in September, when the next water bills come, there needs to be a letter from me detailing why we made these changes and how does it really impact them.
Mhm.
So
Including saying we didn't step you up as far as the state
Oh,
wanted you to
100%.
be stepped up, right?
yeah,
Okay.
so historical billing, 983, 795, 764, 514, that's clearly the winter, for a total of $3,059. And these numbers are all movable. I just use these because this is what made the budget work. That would be $3,800. So it's a rough increase of $800. It takes away all of their overage. So right now, restaurants pay, especially our restaurants, are paying significant amounts in overage. If you are
Justin?
yeah,
Yeah, can you go
Yeah,
back to the
right.
total where you said $3,800?
yep.
Where do you get that? Cause 160 times 4 is 480, so where's the rest of it come from?
The 6 EUs that they have.
Okay, all right,
Yeah,
thank
so
you.
it's based, right now, it's based on just their water use. Technically, like,
Oh, the 6 you're getting from the state thing that they said you
Mhm,
should, a
mhm.
restaurant should be 6 EUs.
no, they said a restaurant should be 50 gallons of water per day per seat and if it's open for the whole day, it's more than that, but I
So
used a
like
restaurant that's
Snaps
not.
would be crazy.
Right,
Okay,
and so it's $50 and then like how many bar seats, so you do that calculation first. and that's their base use. And then you take their water usage over 12 months and divide that by the formula that the state gave me, and that's their additional water users. This restaurant would have gone from 6 to 15 EUs based on their square footage, their number of seats, and other random, I don't want to identify them, but other random pieces in their establishment. They would have gone to 16 EUs, which would have made that triple what that number is.
Is there any danger that getting rid of the overages would discourage them from trying to save water?
No, maybe, but I included in their calculation all the overages already.
Mhm.
And so that's what came up with the 160 was how much are they using over?
Mhm.
And again, that's based on a formula that we have in our books that is not what this is doing. So
there are no, with this new system, there would be no overages for the eateries?
no, that's not real. If they went over their current use,
Then we could.
then they would
Okay.
get automatic overages. It wouldn't, the system would do that at
Right.
that point.
Okay.
So
I
we're
just-
telling it right
yeah.
now that based on what they currently use for the last 12 months, if they don't go over that again, their
They'll-
base rate is 160 the entire year.
Okay.
If
I
they
like
go
that a
over it.
lot, right? I like that a lot better because like when I go to China over the summers and the state subsidizes the water and like there are just things spraying, things dripping,
Yeah.
no one cares because
Right.
you're not paying for it. And so I just wouldn't want to take that incentive away, that if you have a leaky faucet in your bathroom, you should get it repaired because you're paying for it.
Yeah. This is a typical business in town that is not currently, and again, these numbers, this 110, that's just an EU I based it off from, according to the state. Roughly businesses are $110. This is their historical building. You can see it goes up. This is the second heaviest hit population would be businesses that are non-eateries or non-restaurants. This is the part that is going to, so currently right now, a multi-dwelling home user, whoops, I changed that number, is paying $85 just like currently is paying the whatever the historical rate was, 65. Even if they have 4 apartments, 12 apartments, as long as they're not going over their 1,000 gallons, they're hitting that. If they go over their 1,000, we do have apartment buildings that go over that, they're just charged overage. This is based on a house with a multi-dwelling unit with 4 EUs. So there are 4 residential dwellings in this. They currently are only paying $600 a year. It would double.
Mhm.
And that's the hardest hit, are people that currently have.
Apartment houses,
What?
apartment houses.
Yeah, that did not get coded correctly, which is everybody.
But that's like, I mean, 4 apartments paying $600. I mean, that's like
Correct.
free water.
It- I mean-
When you look back, you go back to your residential, guy over at 65 Pine Street pays $365.
No,
Right.
320,
Or three-
322.60.
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's historical, it's 360,
360 versus
Oh, in the future.
the future.
Potentially.
but it would actually be 340, now that we changed the numbers.
Yeah, we definitely have to rectify that. That's not okay.
And so just so you know, that would be, and then this is an atypical, this is one of our customers. They have overage, these are roughly the overages, they are the overages. This has been their historical billing. $10,281, and this would be their new billing, which is not that much more.
No.
So with all these calculations, for all the new ones, you're meeting the required budget,
Yes,
all right? Over time, when that budget goes up because of water line replacements, how do you capture that revenue? Are you changing your base rate? What do you do over the next 5 or 10 years to be able to accommodate those projects?
Those are our tabs, right? Or 3% or 14% increase.
So, yes, you would change your base rate.
Okay.
You would always just change the base rate now, and if you wanted to change the overage rate, you could also change that rate.
Okay,
So you would change those two rates instead of, again, we had 200 gallons as our EUs back in '96. And we changed it at some point to 100 gallons. Chip did not have that information for me.
Can you hold up for just a second?
Mhm.
Hey, Colby, we already took care of you. Welcome aboard. You're now our Bristol firefighter.
Yay.
Give us a thumbs up. You're on mute, Toby.
you're all set.
You're all set.
He's trying.
He's on his phone.
Yeah, he's
Can you unmute?
Hi,
There you are.
sorry,
Yeah,
we just
Well, it's
landed,
not,
still in my seat.
yeah, it's all right. We started
No
early,
worries.
but didn't realize that. Chief
No, I
LaRose
appreciate
didn't realize we started at 6 instead of 7, so, but you're all set, you've been voted in. So welcome aboard.
Thank you
Have a
guys
good
so
time
much, I
and-
really appreciate it.
Have a good time in Oregon and say hi to Emma for me.
Oh, we will.
Take care.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
guys for your time, even though I wasn't able for the time.
Thank you.
Have a good one, guys.
Thank you too. So,
Okay, so we adjust over time.
Yes.
so the apartment dwellers are gonna, the base rate's gonna go up. But their overall, what they've been usage and everything is went up only, did I see from 10,000 to, where did I see one there?
This one?
You showed it 10,906, they're going up roughly.
This is a large user. This is the-
$700.
Yeah,
over
this
the
is
year.
the typical user.
Right.
It's going up $600 in a year.
Right, so those are the people we need to do an outreach to make sure they understand it.
And again, I think that's a letter to these people. It's 90, no, what did we, I can't remember the number off the top of my head. Chris has the exact number of users that this would impact. Somebody else could decide we're gonna have a different water rate for multi-dwellings. Some towns definitely do that. They say, okay, if you have multi-dwellings, you're gonna start at a base rate of $75 to cut how many you have. That's certainly something that the board can play with. So.
well, we'd have to make it up somewhere else.
So for that one, you said that was 4 EUs?
Yeah.
Where does that calculation, why is it 4?
So it's 4 dwelling units. So the state is very clear that your water users need to be based on dwelling units,
Okay.
not on homes. Our
And
policy,
not on curb stops.
not on curb stops.
Okay,
It's on how many dwelling units are within a building. Now, a dwelling unit is not, if I'm gonna go move in with my uncle and I'm living with him, that's not an additional dwelling unit. I have to have a kitchen, right? I have to have all those things that make it a dwelling unit. So.
I don't think we should change this, though. I mean, it makes sense to me. It's a home, just like, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's more than one level or all on one level, right? It's a home with people living in it, cooking, using the bathroom, and having the same rate. That makes sense to me.
so
It's equitable and justifiable.
Right.
is an ADU, that's an additional dwelling unit, correct?
An EU?
An ADU,
The,
accessory dwelling
like a
unit.
mother-in-law suite or
I
something.
do put an apartment above my garage.
Right.
What, yes.
Okay, so if someone puts an ADU in, they renovate
It's
the
an
garage
ADU.
behind their house, it's a new dwelling unit.
It's a new,
So their water, and when we make that connection, we obviously adjust their bill to accommodate. You used to be one dwelling unit for X number of years, and now you're 2 dwelling units.
Yep.
And this is the average, you just use as an example, but some could have, this was based on 4, but some could have 6. Some could
Sure,
have 8.
this was
Okay.
just a typical
And
for,
the same with the restaurants too, that was 6, but those might be different depending on.
Correct.
This is just a single use.
We
case
have
for
restaurants
So,
from 3
if-
to 11.
Right,
if we
okay.
go and do this, we're gonna probably have to make some concessions for Woodlands. Because we have an agreement with them.
We still have to honor that agreement because it's signed until 2029.
Mhm.
And so I have a meeting on the books with Susan Bowen in 2 weeks, hoping that this would be done by then, so I can talk with her more accurately about how we can still honor that contract by switching our rates.
Their contract says that we charge so much for the base rate, but then all their usage gets billed as. Right, all of our overage. still gets billed out.
Yeah,
And
we're,
say, go and use all the water you want, we can only charge you X number of dollars a year. We didn't say.
right, it said we were gonna lock her in at the rate in 2019. That is not what we currently do for her. What we currently do is take the past 4 reads wherever, so like this current read is June, so it'll take the March read, the December read, the September read, and last June's read. It will give me an average of how much she used. I then take that number and look at how much she used this current quarter. So let's say she used 3,000 gallons and the average was 2,100, we knock $900 off her bill.
But then the following quarter, that 3,000 will get into another
Averaged, yeah.
averaged again. So it gets caught at it gets calculated somewhat.
Is that the only water user that we have that agreement with?
Yes,
Okay, good.
she's, that is the.
It was to get them to hook up.
Yeah, which is good. I mean, we needed that to
We
do
wanted 36
what's there now.
units.
I have a question.
Yeah.
On your scenario, on one of these scenes, you have miscellaneous revenue, estimated or average
I
miscellaneous.
just took the last.
Right, so, and that shows up in all of the scenarios. Where does that show up in the calculations? So that 9,000 is added to the 376 to become 385.
So it's the total with miscellaneous.
And
revenue.
miscellaneous
Oh, my computer
revenue
just
is.
Oopsie.
Oh, no.
Is that like the water, the connection fees and stuff like that, is that the miscellaneous revenue?
Yeah, so it's any connection fees, any penalty,
Mhm.
that kind of
The
stuff.
overage, is that where the overage shows up?
Mhm.
No, that was
Because-
in that
Because
separate.
I proposed that the connection fees all go into capital. Since they're unpredictable
Mhm.
and they really are intended for capital investment ultimately. That's where it would go. So I'm wondering about that $9,000, because I don't see, when looking back at past budgets, only this past year did it really approach anything near that I could.
You're thinking of taking that out of the
Well,
calculation,
no.
just because it's,
Anthony took his work for this, so it only charges when I'm on my station.
Are we charging once curb stops are
You
in?
can
even
zoom
if
in
they're
if you
in?
want.
No, so that's another
So
question.
that's right.
Many towns do. If you apply for the permit, whether you use the water or not, you are now an EU because we've allocated water to you. So you are taking away, if 25 people rush Jill right now and she has 20 spots left, and we are now not charging that person because they're not using any water, but they've got one of our spots. And so
Right.
that is a question, is do we want to charge? Because we have a few properties right now that have curb stops in them that there's no water going out there, so they're not paying a
Well, we
nickel.
just approved 7 tonight, there's only one house.
You're gonna approve next month, you're gonna approve 4.
Right.
That's
Maybe.
probably a good,
Hopeful.
that's probably a
Got
good
that dug up by
idea though,
September.
because I know that hopefully this won't happen in Bristol, but in areas where there's been speculation, what happens is people purchase the lots and they wait till the price goes to a certain point and then they develop. So if you make them pay bills, that adds into their calculation about when they want to develop. So if you're paying a water bill, you might as well put in a house, right?
Well, I showed you, when I sent you guys those bills a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
We have a lot in Brandon, the old car wash property, but 15 years, we pay quarterly. It's $82 or $85 every quarter. For 15 years, we've been paying that bill.
And they would just pay
And
the
we
base.
never used a drop of water.
Right.
Put the curb stop.
Pay the
in.
base rate or just pay
We
the,
pay the base, it's
Base rate.
80 or $82 in Brandon.
Yeah.
85, somewhere around this base rate.
Mhm.
So now instead of somebody paying like the base user with a single home paying like $80 and something cents, they would pay 85 unless they go over. So
Correct.
it's not like a huge.
The majority of our users will pay $85. We have very few residential users that are that much over, and there are people with leaks that my knowledge is that the water department has said, you have a leak, and the people continue to just say, okay.
yeah, the ones that are gonna notice a significant difference are the ones with apartments.
Right.
Yeah, it's
But they've been
really.
getting a sweet deal. so
They have been
okay.
getting a really
Yeah.
sweet deal, and it's really telling them that they've been in the letter. I think the letter is gonna be
Right.
key. It's gonna have to come before this board
Mhm.
to look at. But we have to be able to explain to them that for years you've been mischarged.
Right,
undercharged.
way
Yeah,
undercharged.
Right, right.
I mean,
yes,
drastically.
exactly,
You're welcome for the gift.
Yeah.
right.
Or at least the past year, because it was a lot in 2023.
Right.
They're not gonna see it like that.
No, I know.
No, but I
They're
think,
not- they're
but I
not
think
gonna
we
see
can
it.
also point out that until, if we don't rectify the way that we count these water users, we might keep running into these problems where we're not getting these grants forgiven, you know, like we need to rectify this, we need to count it the right way.
You're also asking your residents to pay more than their share.
Right,
I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
right, so
Is
then
that your
homeowners are
residents
subsidizing.
Are subsidizing apartment complexes.
Right,
Mhm. And so, having said that, this is the current budget figure, but having gotten rid of that $2,000. And it includes the new debt payment. So that's what we're looking at. And even though it says 14.5% increase.
So that,
Hold on,
okay, whoops, sorry, go.
keep going.
My thinking is that this does not actually suggest that there would be a 14% increase in the rates.
Mhm.
What I would suggest is that with this new EU structure, that there might not be any increase in rates. It's going to be redistributed among all the different connections based upon EUs. And so what the EU rate or base rate ends up being will be based upon the budget figure. What do we need to raise? Given the distribution of the residential, commercial, and other commercial calculations, if we know what we need to reach, what does that EU number need to be? And then that's what it'll be, to raise that money for the budget. And then over time, as the budget needs to increase, the EU number increases. And chances are, because of the way it gets redistributed among the different types of users and the different values that calculation brings in, it probably wouldn't even need to raise a whole lot. Like a nickel will bring, among all those different new users and new distribution, the folks that haven't been paying and now will be paying, they will fill that gap really quickly, and it won't take much.
But the elephant in the room is that that's on an average yearly cycle. That doesn't include updating most of our water pipes in the ground.
Right.
True,
So
this
how-
is for this year.
Right,
Mhm.
so how do you add in, what's our potential project cost for phase 2 and phase 3?
Phase 2 and 3, so west and east and not thinking about Rockydale.
Right,
Well, no, as everything, I forgot that that was
There's a
phase.
phase 4.
Right.
So like
but
your,
Rockydale's hard.
your west, I know your west side's probably gonna be like 3.5. If the 3.5 million to like 4 to 4.5, depending how hungry or not hungry contractors are and how
Okay.
much materials go up in 2 years. 'Cause
I was
that's,
thinking closer to 5 myself.
see, that's where I'm going.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of bid openings this year and they have been pretty ugly.
Hmm.
But linear projects have been less ugly than building projects. Building projects have been the ugliest and they've gotten like really, like you feel sick to your stomach when you see that it's twice the engineer's estimate versus maybe 15% over. So let's just say, the west and the east together are 10 and that Rockydale's at, it depends what alternative you go with.
Right.
If you simply just drill wells for 34 houses, it's probably the least expensive option. If you need to put in a water line going down a mountain and up a mountain, because it's bi-directional, that's probably the most expensive. And then if you have to just like extend it and go by Lord's Prayer Rock to where it doesn't go now and just connect it, that's as expensive as doing the east or west. So that's like another 3 to 5 million because the number of linear feet.
So 15 million.
Probably 12 to 15 million, especially because you're like 7 more years of construction.
With 75% forgiven.
Oh my
Or
God.
told,
So that's the thing, I mean, that's what we really need to work on, because we can't, without
Without forgiveness, we can't.
we can't do it.
Yeah,
We would bankrupt our entire water system.
Right, and there are
no
also
one would
other
pay.
funding sources that we have not tried to get, such as Northern
We
Border
haven't
Regional
got-
Commission
right.
and the congressional earmarks.
we haven't tried yet, or you got told no.
Right, no, I know.
Right,
No, I know, but I mean, unfortunately, it's like we don't have a choice not to do this.
Right,
And there's no way to make it cheaper. And we can't just say, oh, we're not gonna do phase 2 or phase 3, because eventually it'll just rot,
So
and we'll have more and more problems. and we don't know. I mean, I'm bringing all the negatives up now, and we don't know about the forgiveness, so it's just, we just have to be as dedicated as possible to getting the forgiveness and those other sources
So
for.
if we only got, say that the complete was, in real rough numbers, the complete system was 15,000, and we only got, or 15 million, and we only got 5 million off it, 10 million based on what we borrowed this year, it'd be about 340,000 a year for.
Yeah.
So we'd have to double our budget to pay for it.
Yeah.
That's kind of been that gross feeling in my
Yeah.
stomach this entire time, and to get
But I mean,
nothing, it's like.
But there's no other way, that's the
The
unfortunate
other
thing.
way that Valerie's mentioning that I see other communities do is they pair funding sources. So they'll go for like a Northern Borders grant and a congressional earmark and the SRF program. I had one customer that had 10 funding sources. They had rural development, they had UCA, they had.
Yeah, and we've done that for other projects as well, and we have a grant administrator,
Yeah, it's a little
grant
bit
person, so that's.
yucky to do the spreadsheet to like
Yeah.
requisition all of your reimbursements, but it pays for the project.
Yeah.
Right,
Well,
okay,
can you slide down our bond payment, their expenses?
but at least, I mean, Peter, what you said, it gives residents, water residents, at least a very rough figure. I mean, we obviously don't wanna double the rates, but it's not tripling them, it's not quadrupling them. And the idea is that we're gonna work as hard as we can to have it not double the rates.
Right.
And we'll have a brand new water system that'll last another 100 years, potentially longer. And out of all of this, we're creating that capital plan to be able to see the longevity of the system lasting as long as possible, which wasn't done before.
And another factor is, as more of these lines get replaced, we're reducing leaks.
Hopefully.
Right,
And
exactly.
we're reducing the expenses and the wear and tear on the equipment and the fees to the
Right.
state because of all the water that was being produced. So hopefully we'll see some measure of improvement
So
on that.
well, we
side.
also
And the
have,
electric bill. The
Right.
electric bill is huge.
right.
There's a
We
constant
also
run.
have the benefit which we've seen tonight in terms of new developments.
Right.
There's a huge boom in that, it'll continue.
Mhm.
And so we're going to, I mean, hopefully by stopping leaks, we're able to have more users connect.
Oh my gosh.
Because,
blow off a
be-
It would open
because
up,
we have
like,
the land, we have the ability to put new homes in. And so that's gonna help balance that out as we increase.
Right.
You know, one thing that may help, Steve called and picked my brain today, because he said, looking at the water maps, it shows Main Street coming right up the center of the street and all the services coming from the center of the street.
And a big
And
one.
we know it's looped.
It's awful.
So he said, when was the loop put in? I don't ever remember Main Street. Did they do it when they did the project in the late 80s, early 90s?
I thought they did it in the late.
When ECI put all the streetlights in and did that.
Yes, I thought they did that then.
But Steve says there's absolutely no records of anything after the 1905 water line.
It's
So
scary.
somebody's got as-built.
I was told there's 2 water lines up Main Street. It splits them as you go between the bank.
Scary, scary. Hit it with a hammer.
There's 2 valves right there. One goes to
Yeah.
Shaw's, there's 2 coming this way.
Interesting.
I
So,
like this.
I have a
plan, though.
question.
Okay.
On the 111, but that's not the bond, we just,
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it's everything.
with that
It's
payment.
what's
everything.
with that payment?
Yeah.
There was 70-odd thousand in there. We had to make a bond payment of 7, that's the total bond.
That's, going
Because
forward.
our new bond payment's like 35,000 a year.
34,000.
34,000,
Yeah,
yeah,
and that's in there.
yeah, okay.
So another thing I want to point out, going back to that $9,000 miscellaneous revenue. Last year, you looked up what this, the $7,000, what that was.
It's 12,135 now.
Oh, gee.
So it's increased and that's where everything is currently being put, such as taps, all of that stuff. Any fees that we're charging for curb stops, all goes into miscellaneous revenue right now.
Oh,
I believe the Sugarwood revenue is in there for this year. I can't find it yet. I will keep digging.
I think that's the
Well, it's all-
only thing
but
that
it's
should
all-
go in the miscellaneous, is our Sugarwood tax.
well, there's a separate line for that.
Right.
There's a whole separate line.
It has its own line. line.
Yeah,
It's right
and it's
there.
empty right now.
Good,
Second up
okay,
from the
right,
bottom.
I will figure out where the money
Yeah.
is. I
So
just don't
my
know where it is.
question about that miscellaneous revenue is for years and years and years, we've just had a placeholder for $100.
Yes,
And before it was 1,000, at one point it was 1,000. And I could keep going on, but it's never really been a substantial figure. So I question whether keeping it, the 9,000 in there as part of the formula, if we should include that.
I can certainly take it out.
Yeah, or rethink how it contributes.
Now, out of that 111 bond payment, that's the reservoir on the top, that's North Street to Plank Road account, that's the Pine Street account, that's West Street account.
Plank Road's gone.
Is Plank Road gone? That's why I was
One
wondering.
is gone, I just don't,
One finished.
one of the water projects is gone.
It's either Plank Road or
I
North.
think it's Plank Road and North.
I can tell you.
Maybe blank, 'cause
Different
North is newer.
spreadsheet.
Where's that mark?
The lane we did. Yeah, brother, he was Coach's brother.
So one of the things I want to suggest after I pull this up. Down here. So. Okay, these are the bonds. Sharing screen again. This comes from that capital plan that we've been talking about. So. Let's see if I can scoot over. Let's see here,
Yeah, 8,800 on the way.
right.
What are you looking for now?
when
The
stuff
total
goes
of the the water
Plank
loans.
Road went away. Plank Road went away last year, I believe.
So, yeah, so that's where it comes from, that 11,000.
Yep.
And those are the loans.
And when,
And the-
does it say when they come off? Well, one's 40 years, that one's not.
Yeah, so-
Well,
So going up, because that's just an excerpt for the capital, the 5-year plan. So going up, we can go all the way out.
Oh, yeah, we go down to 104 and then 55.
So, yeah. So
But as
that's
Ian
how,
said, we're gonna-
2060.
yeah,
we're gonna be adding to those.
yeah, we
Yes.
will.
I'll be 99.
So that's where the numbers come from. Yeah.
You're gonna want the meetings to be earlier.
You think so?
Yeah, I'm
4:30.
just
He's gonna be
advising
grandfathered in.
it's 8:45 and we still got. more to
Right,
do,
so let me just circle back on this and wrap this up, my suggestion for tonight's purpose. And similarly with the wastewater. So this is the current budget figure that we know about. The numbers that we're working with, as adjusted. Don't know about this $100, but it's okay. And we took out the connection fees because they should be going into the capital reserve. So if we know that that's what our budget number is, and I recommend that the water commission go ahead and approve it, approve a budget since we're heading into July. And in the next meeting or two in July 8th or not the 15th or the 22nd, we will have more of a handle on this EU formula and the base rate formula to meet that budget. And rather than declare a 14% rate increase, then we instead consider adopting the new EU rate structure at that point and implement the new budget that way.
Okay, I would like to see you guys, the three of you, or four with Steve involved, or maybe not. I don't care one way or the other, but see what, if we gradually, for the apartment dwellers, we gradually, maybe it's 85 the first one and it's 75. And then say next year, this is gonna go to 80 and then the following year is gonna go to 85.
But the problem is then when we change when we do another improvement and we have to go up.
Next year.
Well, that's 2 years before we do another improvement. We're not doing one in 25.
So you're gonna make them go up every single year.
But instead of getting them, nailing them right now for the 85, if I've got an apartment on East Street and I've got 4 units.
Make figuring it a nightmare.
But if you do that, it's not equitable. The other water ratepayers are paying for that.
I hear that. I hear that.
And I think
And
we
how
might
many
have-
years have they had a break in their water
Since
bill?
1905.
Right, oh, so,
At least 1996.
Right. I just worry about that. I worry that water district users, once they understand the new formula, and they're listening to us talking about that, even though I know it's a difficult thing to say and to look at and to accept if you're now getting this new bill. It's not fair. I wouldn't personally complain about that. Knowing that we're doing it and saying, look, we're just gonna give these users a break, why not give me a break as well?
Right.
Well, because you're still only paying 85.
Yeah. But I mean,
And so we're not
But I
lowering
mean,
yours to say. I paid
restaurants,
less next year than
are we
this
doing
year.
it for restaurants too?
What I'm
I
saying
totally
is,
understand your.
I'd rather raise
I know.
the limit on overage and say, you apartment dwellers, tighten up your building. And you won't have so much. I'd rather.
They don't
raise-
have overage.
That's with no overage. That was a typical user
Yeah.
zero overage.
But
Yeah.
they're gonna pay an overage if they go over.
Right, but most won't know.
Most won't go
He's,
over.
he's looked at the water bills.
There's
and
only
looked at the-
actually one multi-dwelling unit that is
So-
over.
Right, so that's the thing.
Like 100 gallons.
Like
a
they're
day.
within their boundaries of 100 gallons a day,
Right.
but yeah,
So is a 4-unit apartment with 1 bedroom in each one versus a 4-unit with 3 bedrooms in each one. The EU is the same in the,
correct.
But their usage will get caught.
on the 3-bed versus the 1-bedroom.
Mhm.
And that's where I say, maybe if we raise the usage, lowered, say, okay, instead of 10,000 gallons, it's 8, I just.
Oh, I get what you're saying now.
Yeah,
I didn't before, but now.
So a 4-unit apartment, I'm looking at Pleasant Hills, they're all single unit apartments, single bedrooms. And you take, Plank Road or Rockydale Road and Pleasant Street apartments that I know of, that are all but 3 bedrooms. They're using more water, but maybe they're not over the
Where
average.
you are, they're 1 and 2 bedroom, right? There's
No,
no.
he's out in New Haven.
I'm in New Haven now.
Oh,
I'm not there
you
anymore.
moved again?
Yeah.
Cause
I've
you
moved
knew
so
this
many
was,
times since
you
then.
knew this was coming.
No, I've moved 3 times since then. Bigger.
I mean,
One to White
that
River.
is that is a way to get at it, which is to change the usage. I mean, it looks like all the towns are basically using the same calculation.
Yeah.
But I mean, that doesn't mean it couldn't be different.
If you have a 1-bedroom apartment, maybe the EU is 70, if you have a 3-bedroom, like a house.
That's a nightmare.
That's a nightmare. I agree with it.
I mean,
I'm
I
just
don't know
trying
how
to
anyone's
burden.
gonna keep track of that.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm only using 2 bedrooms. You gonna charge me for 2 or you gonna charge? me
No,
for
is that
three?
right?
No, no,
Usage
you would,
card.
it would be the usage, the water usage, right? Like you wouldn't try to do that.
But your EU would be based on the number of bedrooms you have,
Units.
units.
Right,
units,
for your
and
It can't
that's-
be based on bedrooms. That's, oops, sorry.
No.
That's part of the statute.
so the statute has the EU calculation,
Mhm.
and it's not based on the bedroom.
It's based on dwelling units.
Right,
Then I say we go with dwelling units. It's
Yeah.
We
clean.
have to make it.
It is clean, I agree.
It's
I agree, you
clean,
guys.
and I know
I
that
was looking for a little.
We can certainly do, so that's one of the suggestions from Chip at Nemrick was have a rate for residential, have a rate for multi-dwelling residential,
Hmm.
so that they just have a different base rate,
Mhm.
right? Cause
But then the residential is gonna have to go up to cover the shortfall.
Well, you
in-
also have the non-residential, the commercial stuff
Yeah.
to factor in.
yeah,
Right, but
somebody's
if,
gonna have to
if the
cover the
numbers
shortfall.
that, the
Right,
numbers that
exactly.
he's given us is based on what he showed us tonight.
Mhm.
If you cut the multifamily, everybody else is gonna have to make it up. So instead of paying 85, you may have to pay 90.
That's what would have to happen,
right.
cause I don't think the restaurants can absorb any more than they are, and the business.
So you instead, like I said, instead of paying 85 a month, or 85 every 3 months, you'd have to pay 90 in order for them to pay 75.
We can certainly raise the overage rates. That will give us additional income. Because right now it's $10 and $20 per 1,000 gallons that you go over, or I'm sorry, it's $10 or $7.50 if you're a business. We could certainly up that. And now your residents that are using, your typical residents, they're paying their 80 or 85 plus their overage at $15 per 1,000 gallons.
You
or
know,
whatever.
But they don't have a lot of overages, right?
It will discourage it, and then what'll happen is you'll plan it in your revenue, and then a couple cycles later, they'll
It'll
learn
be
to
gone.
conserve.
Right, that's
Then
what
you'll
I,
have to increase your base rate.
Right.
right,
So it'll discontinue the behavior because there's punishment for it.
Which I
To
like
most
that.
normal thinkers, to most like budget conscious people
Right.
that have the ability to save on water. And then you'll have to do little bumps.
Yeah.
Based on consumer behavior.
I was just thinking of the apartment dwellers, and we've all heard from the governor's pulpit, from the legislators, that, you know, education tax going up 14%. And not saying the rates are going up 14%. I get what you're saying, Valerie, but I'm just saying, you do that calculation with a 4-unit or an 8-unit apartment, and they're looking at a $3,000 or $1,200 increase in their water based on everything. And then Sharon's gonna send out tax bills in September. And I'm just trying to, maybe a 2-step approach. That was all I was thinking. I get it, what you're saying, Tinker.
No, but you know, the other side of it is that the government didn't have any problem telling us we didn't meet the goals for.
Yeah, I
for
get
business.
that too. You don't.
And also, you know, you tell them to squawk to the. Squawk to
I
the
also
government.
think about, I know how much rents are in Bristol, having tried to get a place, and you can't get anything for less than 1,800 a month for a 1-bedroom right now, unless you're gonna live in someone's home.
Mhm.
And so, or live at Woodland. And so, right now, there is a house I'm thinking of that this is based on, where it is $1,800 a month for the 4 apartments there, and we're asking them to pay $1,300 for the whole year for the building. That, to me, you're getting 1,800 times 4 a month for the whole year, and asking you to pay 1,300, that feels equitable. And Sharon was the one that had that conversation with me today. She was like, the idiot.
$7,200 a month in rents.
What's that?
$7,200 a month in rents,
And-
and the water bill per month would be 85 times 4. So a little bit less than that times 3. Okay, so like 360 out of 7,200.
Yeah.
So hopefully it wouldn't impact their rent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I mean, it just,
I mean, I don't know.
they've been getting a great deal is really what it comes down to.
I don't know how they work it for.
I've said our water rates have been cheapest.
Well, it isn't even, it isn't, we're not changing the water rate. All we're doing is making it a level playing field.
Yeah.
We're.
We are increasing, I mean, $5, $4.80.
Right.
Right.
But in the grand
But
scheme of
very-
things.
Right,
you
exactly,
know,
very low. That's a very low increase. I feel a lot better about that. And I also like the equity approach, because if we're going to give discounts, I'd rather give discounts based on people's income than whether you
And-
live in an apartment or a house.
And that's what Virgin's phased in, was
Mhm.
now if you are 65 or older,
Mhm.
you can apply for a senior citizen rate. And it's a different rate than their other users. They don't have a low income rate yet.
If I start digging now, I'll have a line to my house by the time I'm 65.
I mean, is that something that you
If only you
recommend
knew somebody. that would
here
invest
in terms of
Yeah.
those different kind of rates? I mean,
It would definitely help that
support our community.
population.
Yeah.
Those are the ones I would say Sharon and I hear from the most, Sharon more than me, because they know Sharon and they call Sharon. But those are the people that come in and ask, why is my water bill $1 more? It's not the people that are younger that are paying their bills. It is our population that is on fixed income, that every dollar, every penny matters to them. And they do, they come in and ask every time.
I mean, maybe that's something we should investigate. So you set the water rates each year, right? So maybe this is something we should investigate for the next time, just because it sounds complex. Like, we would want to make sure we understood exactly how they were doing it and what the implications have been in Virgin's.
And
mean-
we would have to figure out who meets that criteria.
Right.
That-
Whereas right now, you know, we're looking at less than $10 for each billing cycle, each of the 4 billing cycles. So I feel like we're probably okay for your regular residential
Oh,
user at this
I agree.
point. But I would be really interested to see like what impact that has on their bills, if the residents find that to be enough of a relief, or maybe it doesn't really matter, you know, I don't know, but it'd be
And
interesting.
so how do you deal with you're 65, you're living in your own home, low income, and I'm 65 living in an apartment. And my landlord pays my water bill and he just adds it to my rent,
Right. No, I know.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
There's no easy.
Yeah.
There is no easy way for that. For gens, it's an application process, so you don't get it automatically when you turn 65. And I can certainly reach out to them and ask how many people use it every year.
And can I have a copy of your application?
Right.
Right.
And is
Yeah.
it the
Would they then have to apply every year and prove they're 65 or,
No, it's just that first year, Michelle.
yeah? Until
After
they
that, you
like
only
sell
give
the
up.
house or pass on or whatever.
Or if they were left a large inheritance by a brother or sister that's reported through death certificates to the town and wills, they then won't qualify, and the town treasurer, or whatever they're called in Virgins, would reach out to the person and tell them, based on this will and
Based on
testament,
your windfall.
you have $1 million, you're no longer getting the discount.
I mean, I think it would be a very good thing to offer if we find success in Virgins and other towns and communities that have water districts. I think that would be a great thing to offer.
And what I just proposed, you guys all shot me down, that, well, other people are subsidizing the apartment owners. And I can say, so I'm 65, I love it, but, and then
No, you don't meet the.
You-
income. You don't meet the income.
you are subsidizing my senior citizen discount.
Right.
Well, only if you meet the income.
If I meet the income.
Right.
Right.
But all I was saying is that I would rather reduce rates and have an unequitable payment if it is people who are really struggling to make it
Yeah.
through. Like, just because you live in an apartment, a lot of my friends live in apartments because they don't want to mow a lawn or deal with a roof or, you know.
I don't wanna
like-
fix the fridge when it
Yeah, they
breaks.
don't wanna fix the fridge, they just like to make a phone call. And so, I mean, people live in apartments for lots of different reasons. And so just saying that because you live in an apartment, we're assuming you're low income and therefore you should pay less. I would rather that we actually find people who are struggling to pay their bills and we help them
And
if we're going to do that.
We kind
If we're
of
gonna
do.
change the rate.
Our two of our biggest water users have, one doesn't anymore, did have a discounted rate for years. Now they don't, but the other one does have a discounted rate
Right.
for a few more years.
So we're already stepping that in slowly for them.
Okay, well,
Alrighty,
it's 9 o'clock.
Okay.
So,
I had one more question. So for your budget there, your water rents, how are you calculating that? Is that with the new formula?
No, that's the old formula.
So how do we know that that is what it is?
I don't think we can.
It's
vote for
not,
budget.
right?
No, that is what it is.
Oh, it
That is
is?
actually, so.
well, it's based upon the expenses. These are the expenses that we project.
Oh, I'd written down
And that's what we need.
385.
for
And
income
then-
to pay for it.
And then this is,
It's an enterprise
this is the amount of money we need to raise through the rents to pay those expenses.
Right.
It's
And
sort
that's
of a miracle that the increase in the cost per 100 gallons in that formula going up has supported this.
Well, because this is not what the water ordinance says. That's the,
Okay. no
this
wonder,
is
because the
not
increase
what
has
is in our
been-
water ordinance currently.
Right.
Got you. Okay.
All right, right.
And so
Sorry.
in our water, in NEMRIC, with the formula, we will raise $339,000 this year. That is real based on,
Base rate.
that just based on base rates and this convoluted formula. We should have only raised, based on our formula that's printed in our water ordinance, 240 something thousand. It's in my spreadsheet that I can't access.
Go and buy a cord tomorrow so you can, don't have the docking station, go buy a cord for that.
Yeah.
I think there's money in the capital.
So you're asking us if we want to approve this, and Joel, you said no?
Well, I
Well, the
don't,
budget is what the budget.
The budget is
what it is, what it is.
Exactly.
but You're coming,
It's
you
just a
you said
rate
earlier,
structure. that we-
right, you're gonna,
Okay.
the three of you are gonna sit down and do the rate structure, so we'll know. We can say, right now, if we approve it, we're saying, yeah, the budget's 13.8% increase.
Right, and,
And we can't say that without,
and the current billing going to be completed in June will be going under the current structure. So we have some months before the next billing goes out.
September.
Yeah, so there's time to put that new structure in place to actually achieve this.
But there's
budget.
also a lot of line items that don't look like they're being spent. So is that really the budget? Like training, it looks like hasn't,
Right.
Yes, that is really the
Supplies.
budget, and they have not been spent.
Right.
so I guess what I'm saying is. that
Retirement, there's
number
been nothing coded
correct?
to that for years.
Right.
Right,
But there should be.
if you're
Right.
2% of yours and 2% of hers and 2%.
So I would love to have that conversation with the board at a different time, because we are one of the only towns that does that
Yeah,
crazy.
I don't think we should split any of it up.
Darlene said, it's all the town's money. All it
Right.
needs to do is go into Micah and Fetty. You guys make your jobs harder.
Yeah,
There's no
can
reason.
attest to that. If you look
Valerie
at the-
should just be an admin. I should just be a treasurer. It all
Yeah.
comes from the same pot of money.
I think you're right there. It shouldn't be coming
Right.
This
2%
is,
out
I
of
mean,
this and 1% of this.
and let's be
It's
honest.
something that the trustees did when they had all these things, because they wanted to make it fair that
Right.
everybody was paying.
Well,
their
I've
own
seen
part.
this in like conglomerates, they do this, like how much time do you spend in each part of the company, and then that gets billed out, but it doesn't make sense for a town government.
No.
You know, our revenues.
Our jobs are our jobs. That's what
Right.
Darlene said.
So the
Jobs are
only
your
exception
jobs.
is that the water and sewer are enterprise
Enterprise
funds.
funds.
Right.
And so,
So
that-
you're,
that-
if you're
that
not
element, that
charging for the
4% of
labor.
my time that is dedicated to like
So you are
this
a
meeting.
conglomerate.
So should we have a
Well,
line?
you know, well, we talked about it last meeting. Should we just put a flat rate in there
Yeah, I think that's.
and just say this goes, this due to
Yeah.
the general fund from the water fund for labor?
It will vary based on, as you can see from just the health insurance, that, you know, as that changes, let's we're up here. As people come and go on the health insurance.
But if we pick a number and say, this is what the water department is gonna pay the general fund
Yeah.
for administrative costs.
Administrative cost, one line, administrative cost, that's health,
Yeah,
FICA,
I mean, what are we now? We're 5,000.
We got-
Our salaries are up there.
we got a little bit of
11.
FICA in there.
20,636.
How do you get 20,000 of those?
Can you do all this in there?
Because the top one's 13.
This.
13
Yeah.
plus the
Oh,
four.
she added
Yeah,
to 13.
yeah, so it's down there, right
So-
there, 20,636, right down there.
Previous.
Okay, I didn't see that wasn't gray, so I wasn't.
Yeah, yeah.
Projected.
So if we put 20,000, if we put 20,000 in
But yes.
Just a single
a
line.
single labor
Admin.
admin, yeah. And eliminate all those other lines, and then if, you know, if everybody gets, say everybody gets a 2% raise, we add 2% to that line.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot neater and a lot cleaner and a lot less hassles for everybody.
Mhm.
So
You wanna
now-
do that with this budget?
Do you have the accounting
Why are you
ability to
saying
have
no?
one account for that?
I don't know.
Hang on.
For what? I'm sorry, I didn't
Do you
hear
have
you.
the ability in your account to be able to see it in the budget and code the expense to the right line, or is it just a fixed in out, like the paving line? There's a $2,500 to highway for paving,
Uh-huh,
would it be just like that?
yes.
Okay, there we go, easy.
Well, is it just gonna complicate things if we do that? Because do we know the percentage? Do we wanna, what? Rate?
Go up?
Yeah, well, in terms, not to
You
go, no, not to go up, but I mean, are you saying to change, to take all of those out and just have the flat rate and put it into, for this
But
budget?
administrative,
Okay,
Administrative
So-
cost 20,000,
oh, okay, I see what you're saying, yes,
and
we
then,
have to
and
replace
then
that with
if everybody gets 2% next year,
okay,
we add 2% to the administrative costs, and
You know,
Okay.
it's the same thing that you do for your CapEx. You put 50 or 55 or 40 or 45 and it just goes to CapEx. This would go to general fund to go towards, it makes sense.
so in NEMRIC, how do you change that then?
Which part?
So
yeah.
we have this budget like this.
line 16 through 20. just
I would
one.
collapse them and then make one line, so they would all turn red in NEMRIC, and I would
Okay.
make one new line that says,
due to.
Administrative,
oh, well, I would set that up afterwards. It would just say administrative fees
Okay,
to $20,000, let's say. And then I would set up the due to from that, it just automatically does it. So I don't have to think about it ever
Okay.
again.
Percentage after the 2023-24. That's
Trying
the
to
percentage
wrap this up,
spent
guys.
to collect that money.
Correct.
Yeah, make life
So
easier.
some of them.
okay.
can you,
A lot of them
And we
are
can
not
look at that another.
fully
Valerie,
spent.
Correct.
can you go down to what's the bottom expense line? I know it was
390.
390, so you're proposing that we vote on a water budget of $390,232 tonight or not?
Yes.
Well, since there's pressure to do that before the new fiscal year, so that you have a budget going into July.
Right.
Yeah. that's-
So moved.
And July is the end of the week.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
It would also give me a target.
We're gonna be like are we gonna be like the US government? We can't spend any money after
Oh, no, no.
Saturday because we have a, because we didn't
didn't
approve
vote on
budget.
What, what would be the reason not to pass this? I mean, is there any discussion
see
about the
one.
line items in here? I mean, other than how we calculate the rate, what's the holdup?
I don't know.
No,
if
that's
there's-
why I moved it.
That's, are you?
I don't
moving
wanna be
that?
here till
Yeah.
11 o'clock discussing
Okay,
this.
that's right, okay, that's why I asked.
Someone give me a second.
I did. Peter,
Okay, good.
second it, that we have approve a budget
And I-
of $390,232, right?
With the count, with those lines combined?
Well, let's think about that, because going back into and we're gonna go there in executive session on compensation adjustments. The personnel tab is tied to those formulas, and right now they're tied all over the
Oh,
place.
Kinda like
and
that.
So
in-
all we need to do is take all of those when we do, but for next year.
Yeah, yeah,
I
and
mean,
the
if
FY
we take
twenty-five
all of
now.
those and figure out what they are, put up, and then just take whatever the percentage is that
Correct.
every year and
Yeah,
do
so
that
the-
administrative.
So for this year, I recommend leaving it alone.
Oh, you just.
Well, but I think but remember, we're trying to move away
Right,
from the spreadsheets,
Right,
right? We're trying to do it in
exactly.
Nemrick,
But
but
because-
Nemrick isn't like this though. This is only for,
I don't
the
know how
spreadsheets.
NEMRIC calculates that each time. Well, I do actually. 4% of my paycheck goes to water.
Yep.
2% of, in all the different line items for benefits, insurance and this and that and the other thing. 4% goes to water. So that's how it does it.
Yep.
Um,
Same, for me, it's 2% to most departments, 1% to one of them.
Right.
and that can be an internal thing and what we're looking at, but yeah. But if you're concerned about that, then we could keep it as this. It's the same amount, but I think
We
once
do it on all the budgets. this
right,
year.
once we
Yeah.
start to look at the budgets and bring in the Nemrick side of things to be
Yes.
able to work on the budgets instead of by spreadsheets, then we can do that.
I think
It's-
Justin can have that talk with Darlene and see what she thinks.
Yes.
So do we just have one line that says administrative costs?
It
Oh,
seems like
she's
you-
gonna say that already.
Yeah.
She
Okay.
gets so frustrated when she has to do our books because she then has to go in and make journal entries.
Right,
To
yeah, I
correct
think we
12
need them
cents.
to recommend
She's like, I
the
just don't
proper way to do it.
understand.
I mean, yeah, it would be
Okay.
so much easier just to have
Oh, absolutely.
$20,000 do
And
two.
then it still has the built-in percentage, because it's calculated from what it is in terms of the increase each year.
Right.
So that goes up. Okay, so we have a motion and a second, sorry. Don.
Yeah, we have a motion and second. Any more discussion on this floor? All those, Michelle, you all set?
I'm good.
She's getting ready.
Okay,
Shaking our head.
all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Abstain, okay, ayes have it.
Very quickly, let's see, sewer.
If that line, if we put that line in administrative at just what it is, we could use the formulas for this year and it would still come out right. And we
So,
would have one line for next year and we'd be sure to get everything else done.
Yeah. Okay,
so here we are on sewer, and let's see, let me just double check, so the number here does represent a 2.1% increase.
Yeah.
In the budget.
That's very much Main Street, because look at the.
okay, so with the sewer, are we, unlike the EUs for water, are we doing anything with this in terms of our costs?
Jill, Justin.
We are going to, I can answer, we are going to use the EUs that we assign for water to
Okay,
the business, Main Street, I mean, it's.
Okay.
nobody else.
right, it's not a huge amount.
Yeah.
But okay,
So whatever they're assigned will be the EUs for sewer as well.
okay,
Is
And
what-
then it'll be a flat rate.
So it's gonna
With overages?
reallocate use and not just use the stuff that's kind of in the spreadsheet that was like their number that they were based off of, because the sewer billing is weird.
But the budget to run the sewer department this year is $57,928. So that's what I'd entertain a motion.
Right. And
And then we'll work out the formula, whether it's a 2.1 or
right.
2.2 or 4.
But Peter asked, is it a flat rate? Are we doing
Are you
that
talking about going to a flat rate with the
The
EUs for
EUs.
this?
Yes.
for sewer? Flat rate for EUs for sewer?
yes, I have not gotten to this yet.
Okay.
I haven't even seen this yet.
Okay,
But the
Similar.
idea was that we would sit down and say, okay, Justin, who owns 1 Main Street, got 5 water EUs, he should have 5 sewer EUs.
okay,
Cause water in, water out, right? I mean, if you're,
And
it's
then-
going in, it's gotta come out.
And then how do we deal with the
grease traps?
No, how do we deal with the,
high fat.
The
Yeah.
BMWs,
Right,
your fog, that's kind of like you'd need to put a step in for fog, like your
Right. Right.
your high strength waste users would need to have a surcharge.
Right.
That's how
but
you
they need to
surcharge.
know that's coming if we
Right?
do, if we do an
Surcharge.
if we do an EU, do this based on EUs and do a flat rate, they need to know that this is coming,
Yeah.
that they're gonna have to do something,
Yeah.
or
Well, I
they're gonna
think
pay more.
I think we need, don't we need Justin's spreadsheet for the sewer side of things
Mhm.
with the new EUs? I think we wanna see
Yeah.
that before.
What the
Well, the
budget,
budget is what the budget is.
Yeah,
budget
I
is
guess
what
so,
it
that's
is, that's why I said.
That's
But you can allocate it differently, and I
Yeah.
like the idea of adding on that surcharge.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Because
But
with
we
that
need to
surcharge,
figure
either
it
you
out.
put a grease trap in and lower your BODs,
Right.
or you're gonna.
Or we
pay a
just have-
surcharge.
We had to put a grease trap before the influence structure, for instance, those surcharges would pay for any kind of post them,
Yeah,
pre-us treatment that we might have to do.
Right,
If we still can't get the numbers down.
right, because those numbers have been problematic.
Yeah,
That's
and I
what
got
you're
my
saying.
results from June, they didn't go drastically down either, nothing really changed, nothing was like amazingly low.
So we definitely
How
wanna create
much is
some
that?
incentives for them to change that
So
behavior.
that, here again, that would probably be just a certain amount, right?
Yeah, just one,
5,300?
yeah.
okay. Make a motion to approve the sewer district budget.
Okay.
There's a motion and a second. Any more questions? Michelle, you got any for that one?
Nope.
Okay,
Look a
All
little
those-
more cheery, come on now.
all those in favor, of that?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
opposed? Aye, abstain, okay.
Yeah,
Any,
thank you,
okay,
Jill.
thank you, Jill.
Do you guys need anything else tonight?
Nope, I don't think so.
We release you.
I was gonna say some other correspondences. As we approve 2 water bills tonight, or water connections tonight, as you know, I close on a piece of property across from the house tomorrow, and I'll be putting in a thing for probably next meeting for 4 connections.
We have about 20 left in our existing allocation, so good.
As you said to Eric, I asked him that specific question. He said, once the road is ground, go ahead and dig it up, put your connections in. And we met with Steve and Kevin LaRose, the engineer, and the water engineer, Steve, and Joe happened to be reading meters, and she popped in on the meeting at the house site last week, so. I am on a timeline, because I don't wanna be a hypocrite and dig up the road in the middle of September when they just paved it last week.
Do you still need me to send you the application form?
For the water, yes.
Okay.
I got the working right away permit
Okay,
done
okay.
in the road.
It's on my
Gotta
list.
go get with my excavator guy.
Thank you.
Where are you guys at with your water and wastewater permit?
Kevin has sent that into the state, he's working on the drawings now.
Because the current ordinance requires.
Right, and that's what Steve said, you may not get
I
that
said
back.
too, so just be thinking in your minds about, would you wanna do a conditional approval? Meaning like allow the taps to be put in so as to not torture brand new pavement,
Right.
but just condition that the permit needs to be in place before actual water use can.
Oh, I'm fully for that.
Okay, but I'm just kind of like putting it in your minds, that might be a condition of your connection.
Mhm.
It's just that.
I'm all for that, but I'm trying to get,
Yeah.
not tear up the road right after they paved it.
Right, yes.
I mean, if you did that, we'd never let.
Yeah, leave it
That's
there.
Just so you know.
so true.
Yeah. Okay, that's all I have.
We put a sign up.
Joel's,
I know.
Joel's
A nice
pile.
frame sign with his face on it.
Okay, town
Call your
administrator's
local
report, Valerie, you got anything to add?
Just a little bit. I just want to let you know that the TA report that was emailed out earlier today was corrected a little bit and reposted to the website. Where am I here? To correct my mention of the cooling center activation. The information I had put in the town admin report wasn't the most current. And what I wanted to do was more fully acknowledge the firefighters and others who staffed it. As I mentioned in my notes, for 3 days, 8 hours a day, a cooling center was established at the fire station. And Nathan Bouvier, Peter Coffey, Terry Farr, Brett LaRose, Kevin LaRose, Lance Purley, Greg Swain, and others donated a lot of time and effort to make that happen, and no one showed up. And that's not the first time. Other times that I'm aware of where the town has made an effort to establish either a warming or a cooling center. No one shows up. Related to that, I got an email just before the meeting started from a citizen who appreciated seeing the posts on social media and out front that the cooling center was available. The person is writing during, let's see. For folks over this recent storm, when there was a tornado threat over the weekend, this person expressed concern about the mobile homes in Bristol that might be vulnerable to such things as tornadoes or other things that could cause folks to want to locate themselves somewhere else. And should we consider some sort of center or shelter for those kinds of emergencies, severe windstorms, tornado threat. So anyway, I just wanted to pass that along. I will mention that to our emergency management team, but anyway, just thought it was interesting.
So for the cooling center, how was it notified? What did we use in terms of letting people know about it?
Facebook, for porch forum, Instagram, and the sandwich board out front.
Did we also use like the messaging system that we have set up?
The VT alert.
Yeah.
I don't believe it's current with subscribers, and I don't know that anybody, I think Sharon knows how to send out alerts. I do not.
Okay.
We were on the emergency management list, cooling centers, they showed a map.
Yeah, I did add that, yes.
Okay.
We were on.
I didn't, we weren't on the news read off a bunch and we weren't on that.
Okay.
I talked to a number of elderly residents and they said they have all put in heat pumps. They were just fine.
Great.
But if they lose electricity, they're.
Right,
Good.
that's true,
That's-
but they did not.
Yeah.
They were good for this, that might
No, it's
explain
good
this
that we did that. I mean,
particular
even though it
one.
wasn't used, it's
Right.
still, the more we talk about it, the more people know about it. I
Right,
think that's
and if
good.
they do lose electricity, they would need it then.
Mhm.
Yes.
I
Okay.
think that would be.
Anything else, Valerie? for the good of
I
the
just
order?
wanted to draw attention to items under other business. Let's see, here we go. Acknowledge that Zach Farnham has submitted his resignation. He will be beginning his new journey as the Charlotte Recreation Director. And we received a response from David Brin about the Seth Hill Waterworks, and he agrees it might be a little over assessed. But he also thinks if the town is interested in selling it, that the Forest Service would probably be interested in buying it. And Chris already gave you an update on our meeting with the floodplain folks. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, the auditor's coming out Thursday. Yay.
Good. Any other for other?
No.
We do have an executive session.
Yeah.
So, Michelle, you want to read that for us? Or just,
Sure. I make a motion that we enter executive session per 1 VSA section 303 to discuss personnel matters.
Second.
is there all, well, we don't need to vote.
I shouldn't have packed up my
All
bag.
right,
No.
motion is second.
Okay.
You're in.
So cool.
Thank you, Judy.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, guys.
Thank you.